Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
Hey, hey, hey! Welcome, welcome. Are we online?
What's happening? What's
We're online.
happening?
Hey, I think we're online, bro.
We online?
Yeah, I think we're online. We should probably talk to the people. Um,
What's good?
what's up, everybody? We're
What's
online
good?
now. Yeah, that was the worst countdown ever. I was drinking my sip. You know what I'm
I
saying?
thought it was a recording.
Hey, man, look here. I had my glass of whiskey. And they gonna talk about. I just barely put my cigar down. This is ridiculous. You just no, I'm just playing. Welcome back, everybody. This is the last class of the year. Uh, I'm excited already for next year, but I'm also excited that I'm actually very happy with this year. I think we had a fun year this year.
Yeah,
I love the people of Hope, right?
absolutely.
It's been just some of the conversations we had throughout the year. You guys almost try to make me cry, but I wasn't gonna cry because I'm gangster. Gangster, but I ain't crying.
They gangster tears.
Nah,
They come down hard.
hey, matter of fact, when a gangster cry, it ain't nothing but like dust coming out of my eyes. You know what I'm saying? That's how hard my crying
That's
is.
an old motherfucker. That's not a gangster. That's a
Do a test real quick, Court.
check, check, check. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Hey, we're testing some things. We'll be back soon.
All right, checking test.
Online? Can you guys hear it online? Can you hear it?
Can you hear the buzzing? Is it loud and disturbing?
You see, Josh, this is the shit we gotta deal with. Now you see him in the flesh.
Wow. I'm glad there's a slide on the screen.
Hey guys, we're testing for online. There's a slight buzz, and we're wondering how loud that is for you guys online. Let us know in the comment section, please.
Do you get that? Fern. Oh. Thank you, Fern. Oh, I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Fern. You just upgraded my life right now. Mm.
Thanks to be the bearer of bad news, but I'll take that for you. Thank you so much, sir. It'll be waiting for you when you finish your production.
Thank you.
There's two real long ones, and then we have to like trace it back.
You should know you was all up in it last week.
Still the buzz still there?
Hey, is everything good? Can you guys hear the buzzing? Can you hear the buzzing sound? Hey, hold on. Hold on. Can you guys hear the buzzing noise now? Is everything better? Yes or no?
Go to the audio settings on the software. What's the software? Okay, we had a long time since we had some technical difficulties, but we're going to have to run a meter on the sound cords and figure out where we're having a buzz in the system. But until then, let's kind of move forward, and we'll figure out later what's causing a buzz in our system while we're on a break. So we come back, we have no buzzes.
No buzzes.
But anyway, get my mind wrapped around things. Make a couple of small announcements, and then we're going to jump right into the lesson. Then we're going to have a closeout lesson for the day for some things to really to contemplate on. And some of the podcasts we were supposed to send out last break. We're going to send out a lot of podcasts during the break so we give you guys something to read, listen to, and help you continue to process and continue to spur your growth. Next year, we'll start on the second week of January, right? Second Wednesday of January. And next year, unless you're alumni, for all alumni students, your price will be the same. But all new students, the class will be $50 a month. We're thinking about doing a higher tier class, that's something that we're considering. We're not sure if we're ready for that yet. But for all new students, it's $50 a month. But we won't start charging until March. So January and February is pretty much going to be free. So there's folks you want to experience the early part of the class. It's going to be a free session between January and February. So really, in sense, the class is really the same price because it's $50 a month, but we don't start charging until March. The third thing is that we're going to have classes going to be structured slightly different. The first 6 months is going to be around building awareness. Without awareness, no data, no strategy, all your methods, all those things will be corrupted. Because without awareness, you have to remember that you're the captain of the ship. And so if you're not aware of yourself and those around you, your ability to control smart strategies is absolutely compromised. And then the second 6 months is going to take all the development you received from the first 6 months and pour it into just straight strategy classes. And so in the strategy class, you'll learn methodologies, mental models, principles, philosophy, history, a whole bunch of things that are relevant towards making decisions. Now, are we going to get into micro decisions? Very few, because micro decisions there's really no way to pre-teach that. There really is no way to pre-teach micro decisions. You can teach, if you teach people the principles, they can know when and how to apply different techniques and strategies. But if you don't understand the principles, then to teach you micro strategies, it gives you a sense of comfort, but it doesn't really help you, right? Because there's times when, business is about making a lot of decisions every day, You can't look at an instruction booklet or a recipe to deal with real life. Recipe is when you're just doing the same function over and over and over again. But there's times when you have to make a well-tasting cake, and there's times you have to make a bad cake. And they're both just as valuable. But knowing when to make those decisions, knowing when to go off the recipe, knowing when to go back to the recipe, knowing when the recipe has no value in this conversation because it seems the same but it's slightly different. These things you're going to learn in the second 6 months. And whether you guys know it or not, we've been priming you for this advanced class. So a lot of the alumni students are going to do well in the advanced class. A lot of new students are not going to do well in the advanced class. They're just not. Because they're flooded with ways of thinking that will not open them up to thinking anything different. It's like if you ever talk to a family member who has a biased belief on something, you can't introduce them to a new idea. It is what it is. It's what I believe in. It's always been this way, and I'm good with it. Well, it's not too much we can do for them. And some people, when we introduce these new ideas, they're poisoned by a lot of programming of poverty that won't allow them to think freely. Because poverty is programmed. It's purely programmed. Look, successful business is luck, but financial wealth is not luck. Let me say this again. You could fail every business you ever ran and still be wealthy, right? So, because how you show up and how you exploit those opportunities allow you to gain wealth. But what happens is that where you could run a business, make 10 million, your business could be worth 10 million and then lose everything. But if you lost everything, it's because of what you didn't know, right? There's got to be a point where you say, this is my floor, your floor might be 2 million, and you walk away, right? But if you lost everything, it's because you had a flaw in your way that you process a lot of things and you went down with the ship. Where if you understand wealth, you don't always go down with the ship. Also, people who think a certain kind of way they will always find themselves able to exploit opportunities that they can gain from. But you have to be in the right space to gain from those opportunities. Doesn't mean that everything in your life will be a success. It just means that you can establish a higher floor for yourself. And so there's a lot in this class, like I said, we're going to introduce. It's going to be totally different than popular ideas. And a lot of popular ideas is based upon this, a lot of folk tales, a lot of historical beliefs, a lot of poverty beliefs, a lot of old slave beliefs that we don't know they're originally slave beliefs, that people just use to cope with reality. But it's different between coping and actually trying to impact reality. Those are two different ways of thinking. We're going to get into a macro and micro society. There are certain things in society that you hear in the news and you try to measure from good and bad, but you're not thinking about the macro. The macro is, how do you control 350 million people? And how do you keep the system balanced? Because if the system gets out of balance, those same human animals will go wild and start killing each other. And so how do you keep the society balanced enough where human beings don't kill each other on a daily basis at a high rate? And so there's certain things you see in society where you might think, that's stupid, or why are they doing this, or what's the purpose of this tax, and blah, 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 and we don't realize all that's necessary to keep society balanced. Death tax. People think, death tax is fucked up. It actually is not. It's actually pretty smart. Because if you didn't have death tax, that means I could become a billionaire, and then my son could inherit my power without the skills and talent, and he could victimize the society by those talent, by my inheritance, right? And that means that if he acquires more money, then my family can become a dominant family, even though we had never earned that position. In order to keep a democracy system healthy and allow each generation to produce greatness, then you have to force, like once I die, you're forcing a large contribution to society. And my contribution back to society is what keeps society stable and also gives the next brilliant person an opportunity, as opposed to it just being stuck in one lineage, and then you go back to aristocracy, even though you have a democracy system, right? And so things like that won't make sense if you think about, well, he earned that money, why can't he just do what he want to do with it? But you're thinking about you and your situation. You're not thinking about how do you maintain the stability of a society for a long period of time. That means when you maintain a large society, fairness has to be compromised. Fairness is always under attack because you have to share, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to share with one person. Imagine you have to share with 350 million people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to want to do something that don't seem unfair to you, but for the betterment of the whole, sometimes we individually will have to take a loss. That's what a war is, right? A war is like America cleared many cities out and sent our kids to die so the greater society can survive, right? That seems unfair to somebody who's like, yo, I don't have no beef with Asia. I don't have no beef with Russia. I don't have beef with Germany, right? Or for some white person, I might even believe in what Germany believes in. But I gotta send my child to die? But what you gotta realize is sometimes the sacrifice of the individual is necessary for the greater whole. Like we think survival, we watch TV so much, we lose the responsibilities of survival. Because television just seems like it's all about stories. It's all about the individual desires. It's all about the individual happiness. And so the second part of the class, we're gonna get into like macro views of the world, and then micro and macro, and how those two come together. So then you understand things around you. You can also start to see the canaries in the caves. You also start to see more business opportunities around you. You understand. You'll also be able to unlock some of the challenges of racism. You'll be able to unlock some of the challenges of homophobia, sexism. You'll unlock some of those challenges, as opposed to just sitting around going, "It's not right. They're wrong." The second half of the class is going to really empower you to start unlocking things and being part of the solution. Now, you will be awkward if you go to public and start having conversation, because all they really want you to do is copy and paste what they're saying already, or give a different rendition. So if I say Black Lives Matter, they just want you to say Black Lives Matter, but in a different way, as opposed to what does that mean, right? Because even those phrases, those ideas, and those concepts, they just lack depth. And so the second half of the class 6 months of the class is going to be full of a lot of depth. And so with that being said, you'll rarely see me and Court teaching at the same time, and that's because we can speed the class up. Next thing is that I think me and Danielle is working on something. I got to work with Court. We're thinking about moving away from linear book reading. So we'll give you books that we're going to be teaching out of, but we may jump around. But what we will try to encourage you to do is to read the books, not read a book. Read the books. The reason you want to read the books is because that's not how shit works in life. Like this whole idea of read one book at a time, read the next book at a time. Now you got this book, so now you got it. It's so far from the truth. Really, learning is a random activity of multiple sources of information coming into your head, and through that process, you grow and you evolve. Not, I read this book, I read that book, I read this book, now I got it, right? I can promise you there's many fools who have read the same books you read. There's many fools who have read all the books you read. And so, and there's many wise men who have read the same books you read. And the difference is how they're showing up to the whole learning process. And so we're gonna really work on reshaping the way we think about education in this class. And the other thing too is we're gonna really focus on 510 Media being a tribe for entrepreneurs and community leaders. And so even if you're executive at your job, it's gonna be a tribe where leaders can talk to leaders about leadership ideas, and a group can produce even greater leaders in the future. So, anything else, something else, Marquita? Marquita always on my back trying to make me do stuff. Anyway, thank you, Marquita.
Thank you, Marquita. Thank you, Marquita.
Hey, so quick question. So do we have any questions? Because I'm going to roll into last week's. We're going to finish last week's slides, and then I got a close-in lesson, a really deep idea, principle that I want to teach. But instead of flip it around this time, we're going to actually jump right into the lesson, and from emotional agility, because I want to kind of finish this group of slides out, and then we're going to jump into this week's class, and then we'll close out with the Q questions and any comments or anything anybody wants to say, and we'll have our closing remarks, and then at that point, y'all go home, take care of your families, and enjoy your kids. So, any questions from anybody? We good so far? Okay. Let's go to slide number 11. Shabisha, queued up. Mm-hmm. Turn Shabisha mic up. She can't. Hey, DJ, turn her mic up. She can't hear herself. Anyway, go ahead.
In Thinking Fast and Slow, the psychologist Daniel Kahneman described the human mind as operating in two basic modes of thought.
So real quick, before, this is very important. Daniel Kahneman, Amos Tversky, who's passed away. Daniel Kahneman is actually here in the Bay Area. He lives in Berkeley. They invented what we now know as behavior economics. It's always been here, but they're the one that actually recognized this pattern called behavior economics. If you ever want to get deeper into behavior economics, which is, I don't understand how economics didn't have behavior economics as part of it, which is a combination of psychology and econ. A lot of books that you see that are written are based in their books based upon the book Thinking Fast and Slow. So if you guys ever want to get past the point that you're taking, you feel like you're waiting for somebody to lead you, your opportunity to go to the core of the knowledge, the book is called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. I can't begin to say this. It's a hard book to read as your first time, but let me say this. Difficult books like this is like mentally lifting weights. When you first read it, you're going to feel like, I barely got through that. Then go back and read another book that you thought was hard before and watch how that book seems easy for you. You actually just built a mental muscle. So this book is an excellent book. It's not a difficult read, but it is challenging. But I promise you, books like this, and you don't need to worry about, do I remember everything you read? You're going to remember a lot of key things. But it's the beginning of developing a new form of thought. And I promise you, if you read this book, you will weaponize this language in your office space. Because you'll start referencing a lot of these ideas, and you'll start pulling on these tools. It's like I laid out a whole bunch of tools you've never seen before, and you'll find yourself trying to fix new problems with new tools. And so I just want to stop because we say this name, Daniel Kahneman, all the time, and Amy Tversky, Thinking Fast and Slow. It pops up all the time. But their books have sparked most of the behavior science books that have popped up in the last 10 to 20 years. Because after he won the Nobel Peace Prize, it went crazy. And so a lot of books will reference this. And some books are just taking one of his concepts and then writing a whole book on that one concept. And so instead of you seeing all these people are smart and genius, or people have the secret like the Illuminati, this is it right here. Go get the goddamn book. Anyway, go ahead.
System 1 thoughts are typically fast, automatic, effortless, associative, and implicit, which means they are not available to immediate introspection. They often carry a lot of emotional weight and are ruled by habit, and as a result, are very good at getting us hooked.
Okay, so let me explain this paragraph to you for those of you who said, what the hell does that mean? What they just said was, I'm gonna talk hood or United States people of color cultural talk. There's common sense and then there's a subconscious thinking, right? This is a poor description, but it's pretty much how it works though. A lot of your conscious ideas are ideas that you're programmed in your head that you make most of your decisions based upon, but they're not deeply thought out. There's no deep ownership of them. There's no, well, if this happened, what does this mean? Right? It's really just fast, quick, and we make most of our decisions in that space. But the thing is that they're also the gatekeepers of new knowledge and change. So a lot of times they carry emotional weight. So for example, if I came to anybody in this room and say, you're wrong about something, you're not going to respond to me from your subconscious. You're going to line up with your conscious soldiers and pull your gun out and start shooting. Not realizing you don't own that idea, you never thought it out, but you're defending it as if it's really you when it's not you. It's your conscious autopilot defending its emotional comfort, right? Its habits, what it always practices, how it defines itself. This is me, now you're just trying to change me. That phrase doesn't even make any fucking sense once you learn how the brain works. Because you is not you. You is a constant evolution. If you don't believe me, record all your thoughts right now, put it away 10 years from now, and go back and listen to that shit. You'll be like, damn, I used to think about that. I used to say that shit, right? But you feel like you didn't change at all. You're always evolving daily. Because as you're always updating, but the problem is that when somebody often talks to you about something that you feel uncomfortable with, you defend from that conscious space. That's still conscious space, not your subconscious space, not the deep thought, not the analyze, not the, I connected this to some deeper stories. I know where this comes from. I understand causation versus correlation. None of that shit. It's just all, this is what I know. Somebody told me I believe it today, or I watched it on TV. I don't know where I got this from, but this is what I feel. And it's a very heavy emotion. It carries so much emotional weight that often when people are arguing, they're not arguing from deep thought. They're arguing from their conscious thought, not their subconscious.
Mm-hmm. System 1 is 1 + 1 =. System 2 is 43 times 70 equals exactly.
That's the difference.
1,000. I'm lying.
But that's exactly what it is. It's like when you have to stop and think.
You got to dive into your system 2.
It's your system 2 part of your brain. Well, your system 1 is that, Mary had a little.
Exactly.
That's programmed. You don't own that. You don't even know where that story came from. You don't know if the original person molested their kids. You have no knowledge of that. If you never even thought to say, let me research and see who were that started, what was the original version, and who are the people who actually did that, and do I even really agree with that? It's like when you talk to Christians about Christmas. They get really mad, but they never thought about it. 100%. Keep going.
System 2 thoughts are slower and more deliberative. They require much more effort and a deeper level of attention. They're also more flexible and amenable to rules that we consciously establish. It is these System 2 operations that allow us to create the space between stimulus and response. that Viktor Frankl spoke of, the space that provides for the full expression of our humanity and allows us to thrive.
So let me give you something that's really cold here. If you guys want to take leadership in anything you want to do, any form of leadership, I don't know if anybody told you guys this before. You got to practice being deep. You got to practice being deep. You got to practice analyzing shit. You got to practice thinking. You got to practice listening. You got to practice the art of shut the fuck up. Because a lot of times when you're speaking, you stop thinking. You're just really trying to project system one. Once you practice thinking, you move different as an entrepreneur. I remember when I used to have a job from the 90s back. And I remember you'd be around entrepreneurs or major leader CEOs, and it was just this, they felt deep, or they felt like there was some other shit. You know, they was more quiet, more reserved, more, it seemed like they were a little more tactical in their conversations. They were disconnected a little bit faster from certain dialogue. They didn't engage certain type of dialogue. They didn't have certain reactions to certain things in public. They had a different rhythm that it almost felt like they were almost in a soft version of meditation, but still walking. Right?
Well put.
And what happens is some of you guys are trying to carry your rambunctious, emotional, non-thinking, autopilot ass behavior into leadership, setting you up for absolute failure. Entrepreneurs walk like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders for a reason. Entrepreneurs respond a certain kind of way for a reason. Entrepreneurs avoid certain conversations for a fucking reason. It's because we're engaging system 2 more often than normal. Matter of fact, entrepreneurs also realize we need less headaches because we're using up so much energy on system. System 2 uses up a high, okay. If you go out right now and work out all day long, I think if you burn like a serious, this is a serious, crazy workout where you may need to sleep like 3 or 4 days. You may burn 3,000 calories. That's a serious, like if you cycle for an hour, you burn about 1,000 calories. So you have to cycle for like almost 4 or 5 hours to get to 3,000 calories. Like serious cycling, not no, I'm talking about put it in, right? Jogging, I think, is around the same amount. Chess expert sits down for a chess competition and burns 6,000 calories. The brain smokes the body in its ability to burn calories. So entrepreneurs are, when we start to tap into our system 2 part of our brain, system 1 doesn't use a lot of calories, but system 2 uses a lot of calories. So when we're in public, we don't really want, we want to avoid wasted noise. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not gonna argue with some shit. I'd be like, whatever, you got it, whatever, fuck it, I'm by, I'm out, right? Some shit going over here that's just wasting my time. I want to avoid it. Even like commotion, I don't give a fuck. We want peace, we want quality, we want space. There's certain things we need because of the high level of how we show up. Some of y'all are still in the patterns of noise and drama and waste of time that when it comes time to engage system 2, you got nothing
You're
left.
exhausted. You're exhausted.
You're burned out.
Yeah.
You don't know how to manage energy to enhance performance. Some of you guys are just emotionally like blowing money. You just spend emotion everywhere. You got like you're a new rapper and you got your first contract and you buying the dumbest. You bought a $500,000 watch with your stupid ass. Your first fucking big paycheck and you got a motherfucking watch. That's how y'all spend your emotional energy. Y'all tripping, y'all gossiping, y'all this irritating me. Oh my God, I'm sick of this. You ever heard? You're getting into tit-tat arguments, and before you know it's okay, let's get to some deep shit. You can't. Mm-hmm. You can't. I'm not saying you can't because I'm trying to create a limitation for you. You just use up all your fucking energy. Mm-hmm. So entrepreneurs, they move in a quieter space a lot. They like quiet a lot more because it's about, I got to show up and give so many things the thought it deserves. I can't afford to waste my fucking time on things that don't matter. Mm-hmm. And many of y'all still practice, I call it like pop culture thinking. Huh? What? Ooh, hey, ooh, ha, ha, girl, hey, ha, ha. But okay, now it's time to get deep. No, that's just too much right now. Can we do this tomorrow?
And the other thing is engaging in hell of that shit on social media or watching hell of those kind of shows all day, every day. Sometimes you think you're being entertained, but really when you respond emotionally to them, like, oh my God, did you see that? Or, I would have did this. You're engaging. You're burning system 2 calories. So at the end of the day, you may have spent all day just casually glancing over at social media or watching Real Housewives or whatever, or some drama or some dumb shit. But you may not realize that you drained yourself mentally, that you don't even have the bandwidth to really tackle real issues or real strategy when it comes to your business.
Like, you're not arguing with waiters. You're not arguing with customer service. You're not arguing with damn near anybody.
You ain't road raging. Nobody got you fucked up.
You can't.
You
really can't.
You ain't got time.
You can't. The heavier the load gets, and the more serious you get about this, because many of you guys want the success, but without the awareness. It's like, okay, so I had told Shakina 2 weeks ago, I said, yo, I'm gonna start taking supplements, because I was watching Athena X, which is one of my favorite guys to watch because he got me back into my rhythm, but in a smart way, because as you get older, you can't just do what you did when you're 30s to get back in shape. You have to move differently, train differently, and concentrate differently, and also shape differently. You can't just be like CrossFit almost makes no sense in your 50s. It's almost suicidal because you need focused training, because there's certain parts of your body that's collapsing, and you're like, okay, I gotta give it extra support here, extra support there. Cross training, I'm not gonna snatch no goddamn kettlebell and keep throwing it above my head, fuck around, throw my shoulder out my body. But anyway, so I decided to take supplements, right? And I took this one on joints. By the way, the joint supplement is the greatest thing God has ever made. Oh my God.
Oh, I've been on that.
I did not know. I just learned about that I learned about Athena X, and he's like, you should take joint supplements, especially if you're over 40. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna try it.
It's the
Third
best
day,
shit
I
ever.
was like, oh my,
It's the best shit ever.
I thought it was like, hey, it was like the blue pill for my knees. It was amazing. So, those of you who ain't old enough, y'all, you don't know about that blue pill. Anyway, what's this? The knees. My knees is like, ooh. But like crazy joints, shoulder and elbows. I had no idea. And omega-3s and multivitamin, and then my protein powders to give me help for my drive. Anyway, but I was training without awareness when I first started. Do you understand how much drudgery I was engaging? How I felt like there was rubber bands attached to my body, and it felt like it was just something was holding me back? When you don't have awareness, your ability to perform at a high level is compromised. Me gaining knowledge of supplements allowed me to go, okay, I need to add this to enhance my engagement to produce a greater result. There's requirements to be good at leadership, period. And if you're just running into leadership thinking, I'm going to take me because I want to be there and I want to do a good job, I'm going to take what I have and I'm just going to try really hard to be a good leader and I should be good, you don't realize, no, you can't do that. You can't. You got to supplement that journey. And supplementing that journey is, you can't burn energy the same way when you had a 9-to-5 job, when you went home exactly at 5 every day, or you may have to work some weekends, but pretty much a 9-to-5 job, and you repeated the same pattern over and over and over. That job is so mindless that you almost burn no calories at all at that job. Once you go into leadership and you have to make decisions for other lives, and more is to be lost. I mean that you can have 100 grand, 300, 500 grand in the bank and go down to zero that fast. You know that. Then if you're not thinking at a certain level, it just takes a combination of small bad decisions to take you into absolute destruction. This includes even parenting, relationships, any form of leadership. And so I know it feels normal to waste energy because everybody's wasting energy, but everybody's not leadership. Once you decide to be a leader, you're going to have to think about how you use your energy totally different because you're going to burn higher calories. Just stop burning them on bubblegum ass issues. It's a waste of fucking time. You shouldn't have any more small arguments. You should be able to, you should be able to say real quick, is this going to kill me? Is it going to take my money out of my bank? Hurt my family? Fuck it, I'm wrong then. Let it go. Okay, you might be right. Because if you start since it's starting to get intense, man, get that shit up. It ain't like you have to go home with that shit. It ain't like if let's say Court's not this. Let's say Court was a very emotional dude, and I tried to talk to him about something, and he started getting heated. I'm cutting it off. Because if I go with him, I'm going to burn hella energy, and what do I show for that? Losses. Because then I neglect the things I should be taking care of because I'm already exhausted from this wasted ass time argument that meant nothing.
Oh, and the thing about the system too is once you build the momentum of thinking on a certain subject, the system too will continue to work for you. That's why sometimes when you go to sleep, you dream about that shit because your system too is working on that problem for you. Same as when you're in the shower, like you're working underneath and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got this idea. It's not like it came from the sky. Your system too has been working this whole time. The opposite of that is this. Say we get into a little argument and it gets heated, but it doesn't even get too heated. But it's intense. I go home and I'm still thinking about it. Man, that shit, man, I ain't right. No, he ain't right. That's your system too. Still trying to process the shit. Then you trying to watch TV. Man, fuck that shit. That shit. No, see, I'm right because this. And now you go to bed thinking about it, dreaming about it, trying to solve it, trying to be right about it. Now you spent hella hours on something stupid versus who gives a fuck? Like I need to conserve my energy and hold it on what I'm building, on what I'm expanding, on something hella important versus some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna solve the world's problems. So why are you stressing up or clogging up your system too when you need to be thinking about how to build?
So don't imitate leaders. Become a leader. The way you become a leader, that profile when you see somebody acting like a leader, they become that because they are. Just like when you see an athlete, right? If a guy walks in here and he says, and he looks a certain kind of way and he goes, oh, I play for the Raiders, we can look, there's a part of it where you look at his physical physique and go, yeah,
that's true.
I believe that shit. I could be that, right? Another guy can walk in here right now and say, I play for the Raiders, y'all be like, get your ass out of here with that bullshit. Some of y'all mentally y'all say I'm a leader and y'all look like that second dude. You look like the latter, which is y'all run around here saying, oh yeah, I'm a leader. You look gumpy, sloppy, look like you can't even run down to the front of this fucking building. When that's because you guys are playing like he's playing like he's part of the Raiders. You guys are playing the role of leadership. Once you start practicing energy management, energy development, energy conservation, then you're gonna start moving and talking and thinking and acting a certain kind of way. And then others would say, oh, he or she must be a leader. Right? Just like when an Oakland Raider or any professional football players went on the street, somebody says, I wonder if he plays football. Without him even opening his mouth, even if you don't recognize who that person is underneath the helmet, you're like, I wonder if he plays football. The same thing happens for you when you learn to walk and be a leader. Many of you guys are not valued as leaders because you don't carry yourself as leaders. You're doing non-leadership shit, and then you go, no one sees me as a leader because you carry yourself as, how could you be a leader? How can I respect how you're showing up when I really see you wasting all your time on shit that doesn't matter? I can't value your thought. I can't trust you to lead me if you can't lead yourself. I can't trust that you're giving it deep thought when you don't. And human beings, we don't articulate that, but we can see it. We can see it. We can see it. Like, we'll say, he or she doesn't feel like a leader to me. We can't articulate what that is, But leaders, because of the way they engage the energy to get them to leadership and what they're doing with that energy, makes them move and look a certain kind of way.
And to the point where people, after you engage in conversation, because maybe they may judge or prejudge based on your outlook or your outward appearance, but after engaging or listening to you talk to somebody else, they may walk up to you and be like, "Hey, what do you do?" Because the way you speak is just different. It's on a different level. That's how you know you're basically, the work you put in is reflecting outwardly.
And we're the leadership circles are sororities and fraternities. They can see when you're not. We can see when you're not one of us. We can tell. If a leader takes you out to lunch or dinner, there's nobody in the lunch or dinner who you really are, because they'll watch how you burn energy, and what matters to you, how you approach certain subjects. We can tell the difference between you trying to impress us, or you on the same journey with us. It's a big difference.
Man, I hope none of y'all kids, because then you hear me talking shit. But the school my daughter goes to, she goes to this private school ran by black folks, which I think is dope. But the people, you know, it's like you can hear some of the posturing. So we're standing in line because it was like a little Christmas recital thing. So I'm standing in line with all the parents, and everyone's like, "Well, you know, I'm so glad it's raining because we're gonna go to, you know, Tahoe to stay in our cabin and ski. You know, oh, you ski? Well, I ski too." And I'm thinking, y'all don't even like skiing. Y'all don't even fucking like skiing. The fuck y'all? But I'm just saying this to myself. But it's just a lot of times they're trying to they're trying to show that they're valuable, and they're trying to prove that they're somebody. And look at, you know, my kid goes to this school, and I go to skiing, and so we have a villa here and a villa there, and I'm like,
That's horrible.
y'all black folks, you know you wasn't raised on that culture, but you adopt it because that's what you think the American dream is. You know what I mean? And you fill your brain and your mind and your space up trying to build social currency around the people around you. But if you really just kept it 100, real successful people can see through that shit. So you look to the line like, whatever, you know. I'm just staring off into space. I'm not even jumping in because it's bullshit. I think that's why we're talking about when it comes to investors or anybody. When you are your authentic self, or you really know your shit, game is gonna recognize game. They can spot you out, even if the whole crowd says no. Somebody who really with the shit would be like, "Hey, I saw what you was doing. That's real. You good? Like, let's talk," because they know, they can see the vibration you on. You know what I'm saying?
Next slide.
But System 1 gut responses have a dark side. When heuristics begin to dominate the way we process information and behave, we wind up applying our rules of thumb in inappropriate ways, which makes us less able to detect unusual distinctions or new opportunities. We lack agility.
So this is way deeper than you guys. This
So deep.
It's okay. Superficially, it says that System 1, when it's faced to make a decision on situations, it can't weigh out the layers of complexity. So it just kind of applies these ideas and solutions to things, and it doesn't take on a consideration of like causation, long-term effect, assumptions built into it. That's a superficial way about it. This actually gets way, way fucking deeper.
Man, it's hella deep. Like, and that's why you got to dig down. You got to, self-awareness is so key, and you got to constantly be working with yourself. That's why what you were saying earlier, reading these books, that's just the very intro. It's actually the work that you do on yourself doing this shit. That's the hard part. Now, like you said, the downside of System 1. If I say to you, if it don't make dollars, it don't make. See, it's fucked up and it's stuck in your System 1 right now. And if you're not conscious of that, then when you're coming up to decisions and it don't make dollars, and you're only dwelling in your System 1,
You gonna feel
You go-
you gonna feel it without the words.
You gonna feel it.
Yeah, you'll feel it without the words.
And that's what's so those feelings you feel sometimes that you like, oh, it's easy, I got it. And it's just a heuristic off the system one. Ooh, those things might be hurting you.
Like it's almost saying business is not only about the challenge is not only okay. So in business we think the challenge is being in a space of not knowing. So you at the crossroad where it could be A, B, C, or a third role you just can't, or a fourth role, or a fourth choice you can't identify, right? So you got A, B, C, and an unknown. I don't know what this D is, or invisible D, E, F, G, right? So you think that you take these classes to be able to find D, E, F, and G, not realizing that even A, B, and C that you think you know, you don't even know. Mm-hmm. This is how cold this shit is. Yeah. So what we learn in business and what we're always discovering is, oh, what I thought was A is not A. I thought was B is not B no more. And now you realize, I don't know shit, do I? Mm-hmm. Fuck. And then when you learn, this is why if you come to me and say, no, man, you know a lot of stuff. The first time I feel like, no, I don't. Because when I thought I knew a lot, I knew nothing. And so the way I learn more is by looking for what I don't know, often finding out what I thought was right is so far from being right. Or it might be right in this perspective, but if you change perspective, it's absolutely wrong. And if you go to the next level, it could be right again. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just the weirdest, like life is so much more complex. And so even like, we talked about this earlier, sample size. So if you live next to a pond and it's all white swans, you can run a sample data off that pond and assume fairly that all swans are white. But then when you if you are able to ever globally gain data on swans, you would find out, oh, there are some swans that are black, but they're outliers, right? But you have no reason to think about the outliers if you just automatically accept the assumption that every pond, no matter how many times you run the data, you can look at it upside down, flip it left, right, look at it from different angles, look at the history of that pond, it's always been white. So no matter what you do, it's easy for you to assume across the world that all are white. In business, let me show you how this works. We hear small sample sizes of things, and we assume it applies. So if you build your business and it goes outside your neighborhood, you assume those same ideas are copy and paste. But what happens, you realize you had a small sample size that didn't take into consideration all the different possible variations and outliers that surround you. And so a lot of times if you talk to somebody about an idea that's an outlier to your experience, you try to use your limited samples to understand those outliers, which is your heuristic system one. Mm-hmm. Now realizing that life itself we don't have enough exposure to have enough samples to really understand so much around us. And so because we understand so much around us, and then, let me add this to it. This makes it even worse. Self-help speaks in small samples. Self-help says, I know it's successful because I am successful and of course successful. It don't mean shit. In a sample number, we could be 2 out of 350 million. What if the 348 billion failed? That means that's not a smart idea for me to be teaching, for you to follow what we two did, right? and there's multiple levels of luck and randomness that happened and allowed us to be successful. Doesn't qualify it to be a lesson, right? So in self-help, they always use these small examples. It worked for me. I did this. I did that. My cousin did this. I met Tony. He did this. I met Michael. He did this. I spoke with Mark Zuckerberg. He said this, right? Small samples. And then many of you guys run around here with all this knowledge that comes from small samples. Meaning that you fill your brain with it don't make money. If you don't make money, it doesn't make sense. But you're filling these ones from these white folks who'll give you small samples from self-help. Same level of knowledge. Get into the real world when it's time to make complex decisions, and you can't because your sample sizes are too small.
That's why it's important.
Deep as fuck.
Yeah, that's why it's important from your system 2 perspective to always take anyone's advice with grains of salt, because nobody knows. Fucking nobody knows everything. Not one person on this fucking earth. But you take what they give you and you process it, and you can got because salespeople, they prey on your system 1. They prey on your system one. God forbid you try to digest their sales tactics into your system two. That's when it gets dangerous for them. So I got to get you to buy right now, right before your system one clicks over to system two, fucking it's over. So I got to get you to buy right now. No. Look, hey, I got somebody else coming to look at it right now. System one again. Oh shit, I'm gonna lose out. Yeah, once you go on, somebody else is looking on it. And I just slashed the price. I put a line through it. System one. So most sales techniques, most pimping, most manipulation, all of that preys on your system one, which is 1 + 2, 1 + 1 = 2 thinking.
Yeah, so you got me. I started thinking about that. It's 100%. It's so cold. You really don't realize. Okay, I think I'm gonna go because I had a deep thought to add on to that, but let's just go keep it going because we got a lot to cover tonight. Keep going. Thought blaming. Next one.
Thought blaming. I thought I'd embarrass myself, so I didn't mingle at the party. I thought she was being aloof, so I stopped sharing information on the project. I thought he was going to start in on our finances, so I walked out of the room. I thought I would sound stupid, so I didn't say it. I thought she would make the first move, so I didn't call.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say. This is the same. It's kind of tied to thought blaming. When I learn new ideas, I get excited for a second. This is a practice. This is a cool little practice I engage in. I become excited for a second, and then I say, "What if the opposite is true? Can I find a place where the opposite is true?" By me seeking to understand when the opposite is truth, it helps me gain ownership of the new theory. So if say, of course, says, "Man, this happened and this happened, and it worked for me," and I'm thinking, but what if it didn't work for you? Is it possible? And if it didn't work for you, what's the flaw of its analysis? Right? Now, I would caution you to share that form of communication with everybody because you become irritating. But the reason I kind of process it in my own head that way is because it helps the way when you understand strategy, you gotta be able to see the positive and negative of every strategy as being beneficial. Like people who do good in society are beneficial, but also people who do bad in society is also beneficial. What makes it good and bad is our judgment, our moral judgment. But if we have to measure like the impact of the greater whole, sometimes the negative had just as much impact as the good did. If a ship, when the Titanic crashed and all those people died, it improved every ship after. Mm-hmm. Right? And so you have to think about how there's a balance between where we get into this, we develop a bias when we're only looking for good to be evidence of success and progress, but sometimes bad is evidence of success and progress. Mm-hmm. And so once you learn how to stop, you have this biased way of looking at the world, start looking at the other side of everything you believe in. If this is true, could it also be opposite true? Or another thing I do when I use it, the way I learned to think, to improve my thoughts around racism and lower the power of racism is I would say, I don't like when white people do this. But if I was white, would I do the same thing? Mm-hmm. Big question. It's a powerful ass question when you think about it. And you got to put yourself in their shoes and go, if I'm in this situation, I just came from Europe, shit was really fucked up, I finally got on my own fucking feet, my family did some shit I didn't really like, I ain't cool with it, but I'm here now, and ain't nothing in the world says I'm supposed to give shit back or turn back to the clock. I can't turn back the clock of time. I can't go back and fix our past flaws. And it also, too, the world doesn't give a fuck about the loser, it gives a fuck about the winner. So, would you now in that shoe make the same decision? And do you understand their why? Or are you projecting from your position their why? If somebody happens in politics and you go, Trump did this shit, don't make no sense. I use Trump. Trump was a hell of a lesson for me through his whole his presidential run. Because I always said, well, if I remove my judgment of him being a narcissist, why would he make that decision? What's the long-term impact of that decision? Even though, what's the long-term impact of that decision? Although I hate that fucking decision, does that decision have value to the greater whole? And sometimes it did. Sometimes it did. Because once you get to this thing, I don't like you and everything that comes out your mouth is wrong. I don't like them, everything they do is wrong. I don't like her, everything she does is wrong. You're making yourself stupid.
Absolutely. And if you're like, what's working for them, you can learn. You can learn from the people that you quote unquote don't like. What's working for them? There's plenty of strategies that people that you don't like that they have that are extremely effective. Now, if you blindly disregard your enemies 100% or people that you don't like, then you lose hella nuggets that you can apply to yourself. The dope part about the country that we are in today is that history has proven that they are excellent at absorbing powers of other countries that they either have conquered or even haven't conquered. They'll send people and just learn the culture and learn the nuances and the details to see if they can apply them here. I think the other piece is what I do is when I find something that I get a light bulb or I get juiced about or a new learning, I try the shit. I try it. Let me see if it works. And I get context from an experienced person to say, all right, well, you know, how should I be looking at this? You know, does it work after 1 day or 6 months or a year so that I can have a real sample size for myself? But I try it. It doesn't have to be absolute. And if it don't work, I stop using it. But you try it because the whole concept of this shit is application. And if you don't try it and just sitting back and be like, oh shit, yeah, that looked like that's some good shit, or that works, or you know what, in concept this work, it does you no good. So you gotta the idea is to try it. That's why when we talk about people in the class who come back and they got questions, and the questions are so system 1 questions, meaning, all right, well, did you process this down? And did you do it? Did you try it? No, I didn't try it. I didn't try it, but I just in thought, like I just thinking about just the easy surface shit about it. Well, I can't even give you an answer. I can't even give you a fucking answer.
All right, pull my teeth out.
And if the people that you go to a lot don't even sometimes say, you know what, I can't give you that answer. I don't know. That means those people are too arrogant to even admit that they don't know what the fuck they talking about.
So the thought blaming, read the thought blaming real quick, and then we go to the next slide because they tie together. So read it again one time.
The start at the top?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I'd embarrass myself, so I didn't mingle at the party. I thought she was being aloof, so I stopped sharing information on the project. I thought he was going to start in on our finances, so I walked out the room. I thought I would sound stupid, so I didn't say it. I thought she would make the first move, so I didn't call.
Next slide, just all together.
In each of these examples, the speaker blames his or her thoughts for his or her actions or inactions.
So once again, at that point, I thought this and then I acted. Meaning that the foundation of your action is make-believe. I thought this, I don't know. You won't. It's hard for you to admit at that moment because when you system one can go quick into like, I thought this, so I responded to this. I thought that, so I responded to that, right? I mean that you didn't know. So now you built a group of actions upon something that didn't even exist. There's a lot of guys right now sitting in jail because of this right here. They thought this guy was disrespecting me. I thought this guy was going to, I thought this, whatever it is I thought this was, so I had to pull out my gun and shoot them. Or I had to make this move against them. Right? We do it all the fuck. You know who we do it the most to? Children. I thought she was disrespecting me. They said this to me. She's being wrong. She's disobedient.
Right.
How the fuck you know that?
Does she even know? She 1 year old.
How the fuck she know that? Your thoughts are so dumb. Right now, y'all stop talking to hella friends and family members because thought started the conversation, not reality. It's not like you said, hey, when you did that yesterday, why'd you do it that way? What does that mean? Because I sense, it gave me a sense you were saying this. Was that what you were saying? Okay. The person might even tell you, no, that's not what I'm thinking. That's not what I was saying. But your thoughts still take over. They probably lying to you. That bitch made what she said. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And then you act on that thought, not realizing that you're destroying your whole world because of thoughts in your head, not what's actually happening in your world.
Amen, brother.
And it feels real.
Oh, it feels real as fuck.
Like it doesn't
feels
feel like it's
real.
coming outside of you
No,
at all.
and you can go gossip to your friend about it to reinforce it, getting people to try to sign up on this bullshit you talking. This is why when people talk about their relationships, I will not let you talk to me about your relationship. Because quite often when you talk about your relationship, you're sharing your thoughts, not the actual relationship itself. Some of y'all with somebody who ain't worth shit, and your thoughts got you in the relationship, and now your thoughts got you breaking up with them. And at the beginning of it, if you would have asked me, should y'all even be together? Fuck no. Or some of y'all got a great person in your life, and y'all fucking them over because the person you dated before got you producing new thoughts on the person you with. So you're acting on a fucking thought.
Hey, have you ever had a dream that your significant other was cheating on you and you woke up and you was hella mad at him in real life? And you're like, what the fuck did I do? Well, you was fucking other bitches in my dream. Like, are you serious? That's what we do in all aspects of life sometimes.
do that for real.
We make assumptions of somebody's based on our own fears, and we create these stories, and this shit ain't even never happened.
The thought game is so cold. It's so cold. I've given advice to people. They say, Nana, why are you always attacking me? That's a thought that produced that. I'm giving you something and I'm attacking you.
Yep.
No, I don't want to. I can't talk to you because you might hurt me. A thought said that if I give you words, it's like getting you cut up.
Yes, sir.
And he's judging. Or somebody says, "Oh, Nana, you think you better than me?" Huh?
Whoa.
I didn't even make that announcement. Right? Thoughts are.
Right.
You can pull up in a new car to a poor family member, and you can say, you get out there and say, "Hey, why'd you paint the porch red?" And their brain goes, because you can afford that kind of shit, and you just think I don't have no money to this, and you think I don't make the good choices, and you think that's why. And your thought, so now your response ain't even to what the fuck the question was. Instead of you going, well, I like red. Instead of you just say I like red, you be like, because that's what the fuck I felt. This is a black community at the lower level, like that's our rhythm of talk. The thought, who's in control, the thinker or the fucking thought? The thinkers are not talking. It's the thought that's talking back to each other. Whole bunch of thoughts out there. I couldn't pass that one up. All them thoughts.
THOT.
LT, yeah, thoughts. But that's. That's even better. Who's control the thinker of the thought?
Your thoughts control a lot
Yeah,
right now.
yo. But these suckers in thoughts be whooping them. But anyway, but the point is this. So it's and here's the thing. Let's get into real world management of that. When the thought kicks in, can you say for a few seconds, that's my thought. Almost reserve your emotional part. This is what I'm thinking. Okay, let me investigate this to eventually you exhaust your investigations. What I mean is, okay, you'll start seeing how your thought is controlling a lot of your dialogue with a lot of people that got you in a fucked up space. So some of you guys are lonely, or got fucked up friends, or got people who are poorly contributing to your own success. And it's because you don't realize your thoughts produce your whole circle of people around you. But when you start slowing down your engagement of your thoughts and allow yourself to start asking yourself a question, did they really mean that? Did they really say that to me? And then learning to turn some into a question or investigate some, after a while you realize, oh, those last 40 times I asked that question was all me? Fuck, my brain is doing this to me. Then that allows you to begin the process of, well, why am I triggered when this happens? We use the word trigger as a weapon to make other people to reduce tolerance and restrict other people's behavior. When trigger is a tool for us to discover ourselves. Some of y'all are like, when you said this and your micro expressions, it triggered me. Shut your punk ass up. That's for you. If I trigger, get your fucking ass leave the room. Unless I'm walking behind you the whole time, just screaming in your ear, that's one thing. But if I'm in a room talking to him and you happen to be here and I trigger you, take your triggered ass and take your Smith & Wesson ass and go outside. Right? But the reality is that it's not triggering, it's for you to discover yourself, for you to grow past those points. And so you have to become, that's why I said the awareness part of this class is going to be just as important, if not more important, than the strategy part. Because without awareness, you could be building on your business, you could be destroying your business right now with all this knowledge, but yet you can't get past your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you start thought blaming, there's not enough space between stimulus and response, in Frankel's terms, for you to exercise real choice. Thoughts in isolation do not cause behavior. Old stories don't cause behavior. We cause our behavior.
So, this is the coldest motherfucking part. She said old stories, and she mixed that with thoughts. Now, the reason I do this is because when I was younger, cut it out, it's you right here. If I said to you, when you was 5, you didn't need nothing, so can I get the keys to your car? You say, what? That don't make no fucking sense. Then what the fuck you say stupid shit to me then? Stop blaming your 5-year-old age for how you fucking around. Right now, it's really you. You're not in control of your own thoughts, and you don't realize that. And what happens with the human brain, we are the best fucking lawyers in the world of arguing our case. Because at the end of the day, I don't have enough data to argue against you, so you always win your case.
That's the code. That's the code.
And the way y'all really put that extra punch on your case, you tie it to some emotional shit. You bring up some, I can't talk to you about this because my cousin died, when this happened to me. I still suffer from that. So I really can't talk to you about this. Stop it. If you want to get in power, now, you have the right to be you for the rest of your life. But just know this leadership shit requires for you to step the fuck up. You got to decide at one point, do you want to be in control or do you want these thoughts to be in control? Do you want the story that you can never go back and fix to be in control, or do you want the story you can make to be in control? You got to make that decision. Do you want to be abused for the rest of your life, or do you want to stop the abuse today? Because the only thing that's keeping that abuse alive is your brain. I don't give a fuck if everybody up to yesterday burned the fuck out of you. The world says that if you got burned every day of your life all the way up to yesterday, tomorrow does not have to be burned. Mm-hmm. The only thing that makes you continue to seek out the opportunity to be burned is when you believe that you are destined to be burned. That means the thought has defined your future. Mm-hmm. The thinker's gone. You're not even willing to turn the thinker on to change your path and change your direction and change your opportunities and your outcomes. You're too busy on the path that the thought has put you on. So every time you blame your past, that's your thoughts. Every time you say, I felt like you said, that's your thoughts. When people do, that's your motherfucking thoughts. When you're faced with a situation, and let me tell you why this is such a business thing. Business is not simple decisions that come perfectly down the pipeline and you have no time to analyze and go, I know exactly what to do with this. Okay, this is A turning to B. When B come in, turn into C. When C come in, turn into D. Okay, I got this. This is really easy. No. What happens is, what you forget is that you're in a game of randomness with other players. A has always worked until your competition masters A, and now you have to master B. So there is no perfect tic-tac strategy in business. The only way you can make all those adjustments is you have to put the thinker in charge so they can pivot and always make those fast adjustments. But if you're locked into thought, you will watch your company crumble because you're holding on to a thought. This happens to governments all the time. Because governments often don't have the higher level of leadership, and so they'll lock into an idea. This is who we are. This is what we believe in, and they will watch themselves destroy themselves because they got to hold on to a belief, even though the belief is no longer working at this stage of the game. In business, when the thinker becomes in charge, you can think and go, "Hey, this is what we stand for," but right now we got to take this opportunity, which is going to cause us to be this. It might be this window. Because we're thinking, or we may become extreme this when really because we want this result down here, right? Mm-hmm. But you won't have that flexibility to manipulate reality if the thought's in control.
That's why you also don't want to be married to any particular belief. That's why it's good to play in your system too. System 1 marries beliefs because it's lazy. It ain't trying to think and process. It's like, this is what it is. It's easy. I've already proven that it works sometimes, so it's good for me. I ain't got to think. When I see A and B, I think C. But the idea is, no matter how simple or complex an idea is, you also have to be willing at all times, any times, to divorce it. You don't owe it. It doesn't owe shit to you, and you don't owe shit to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it helps you to remain flexible in your thinking. It's more work mentally, for sure it's more work. But that's why we said it's important for you to keep your bandwidth free, your mental bandwidth free of bullshit. Because when you need to sit and process something, when you tired and you spent and you done, when it's decision making time, a lot of us have that tendency to be like, man, just fuck it, man. Just do it. Yeah, go ahead. Just do it. Because you ain't got it. You ain't got it in you to process it. That means you mentally spent. You burnt your calories. So when you allow yourself to be on top of shit and you know that, hey, these are big decisions, sometimes you got to say, you know what? Let's pause this. Let me think on this. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and really process this decision overnight and come back with a decision because you don't want to fuck no shit up. System 1 and System 2 is so important, to understand it, but the hardest part is to practice it. Because when you're sitting there and you get hooked or you feel something that's like, this is it. Bro, we've been here before. Just press the button. And you're like, yeah, I know. Feels good to press this button, but I'm not going to press it. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and come out with a better solution. That's the hardest shit to do.
And the reason a thought will continue to win, because the thought is a heavy ass weight. I mean, the thinker is a heavy weight. The thought is a lightweight. Thought is autopilot, right? The thought is letting the autopilot talk to you. You respond to it. You're just going through your day. Your life is messy, right? Or, I'm not going to go that deep. Or let's say you always having kind of like back-to-back problems in your life. Like life seems like you're always having, seems like fix one problem, another problem's coming, right? You're not using your thinking part of your brain. And so you're falling into patterns that's producing the same outcome over and over and over. So if you've been broke for 8 years, it ain't because the world's been fucked up. It's because racism ain't that motherfucking powerful. It ain't that motherfucking racism in the world. The reason you've been broke for 8 years is because you've been on autopilot and you just been letting your thought control shit. Where when you start deciding to become a thinker, you start to drive your car down paths you didn't even know existed.
Mm. Hey, last week before class, I'm sitting here and I'm cussing myself out. The motherfucker's court. And he's like, well, what you doing? I had worked on this project for months. Fucking negotiated, worked, presentations, this, that, the other. Did all this shit to present to get this big deal. And they're like, all right, we'll put the contracts together then. We like it. And I spelt the motherfucker's name wrong. Because in my mind, it's an easy name to spell. Instead of stopping and saying, okay, is it truly his name? Like, let me do the research. He's all on motherfucking Google. Let me Google it. I was so spent from everything else and the whole picture that I created, I forgot that one small minor detail. And that shit almost, you never know. That could cost you the whole thing. That's why we gotta stay in business. It's such a cold game. Wins and losses happen every day, and most of the time, when we say, we make bad decisions, a lot as entrepreneurs, a lot of those bad decisions come from just doing system one shit and cleaning up your system one shit.
He gave you a hella game, but let me help your brain wrap your mind around. He actually shared with you a dope ass strategy. This is a high level strategy. When somebody becomes busy, they're not thinking anymore. We know that. So if I'm going to battle with you, and you say, "Oh, I've been really, really busy," oh shit. Well, let me take this gun off me. Put my shit. I can whoop you with boxing gloves. You easy to whoop. If you really when you get to the highest level of a business, you got to turn that busy shit down, and you got to spend more time being curious and exploring and working out and more calming yourself down. A real powerful person has to reduce busyness. I know y'all never seen that shit before because most of y'all never seen the highest level of thought. The higher you get in thought, the less busy you need to be. So if you're the brains of your business and you hella busy, your business is kind of stupid. You won't know that because it won't feel like that to you. But all of us know that. So like if you ever call a real heavy hitter who's an investor, and you're like, "Yeah, I've been so busy, but I'm trying to get this to you," they already know you flawed. That's deep game. That's high level strategy game of when I'm reading people, I'm reading how busy you are to know how valuable you are. Will I tell people that in public? I'm saying this to class, but when I'm out in the public, I'm not gonna ever admit that.
It's real. That's why old way of thinking is when this big company has massive layoffs. They have to lay off 1,000 people. And the executive team CEO goes on vacation. And the layman says, "The fuck is wrong? They could have took the money they spent on those vacations and kept more employees." That's how I used to think. Old style thinking. But as you move up the ranks in terms of your level of understanding and entrepreneurship, you realize smart move. Because when you distance yourself away from the problem, now you can think on it instead of being in it, and now you can strategize in a peaceful place. That's real shit.
God damn, this is high level shit that you never see on popular television. I told you, popular television teaches poverty more than you realize. I promise you, most of the principles you see in movies and popular news is designed for poverty. It's not designed to raise you out of poverty. Once you understand what's required to make the best decisions, you realize the lifestyle of the poor is being busy and wasting their time on shit that don't matter. And the poorer you get, the more you see that shit's amplified. Go to like if you have a hood family member, and just stand by their window and listen to the chatter of everybody talking, and watch how much chatter you hear that ain't about shit. And a lot of arguments, petty. Shut the fuck up. Oh, fuck that. Give me that shit back. Oh, kiss my ass. Nah, bitch, you ain't talking to me. Oh, fuck what you said. Nigga, please. Nigga, I don't give a fuck about these niggas out here. Okay, all that chatter is stealing from you. Mm-hmm. The music you listen to, I don't give a fuck whatever these motherfuckers say. You're losing hella data. Hella energy. Third one, my white people, they make me so mad. Oh, I can't stand these white people. You taking losses. Huge fucking losses. Right down the street, I don't give a fuck about none of these motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck. I'm riding hard. Or I'm mad, I'm mean mugging. I don't give a fuck. Oh, somebody says so. You just draining all your energy. You got no thinking energy left. When you see somebody driving the car and they just like bumping, they like this, and they kind of swerve, that motherfucker is an ignorant fool driving down the street. I'm not, fuck y'all social justice and all your emotional feelings and all your way y'all feel about good people, bad. Fuck all y'all. We're talking about human behavior. And when you examine human behavior, you'll see patterns of energy, I'm looking for the word, but you're overspending. You're loosely spending, no discipline, you're just throwing your energy away. So you're losing control of your destiny and you're becoming on autopilot, system one thinking, because you have nothing left. Mm-hmm. They could be good people, and this is why when they go to jail, they get time to go, they're like, oh, fuck, what was I thinking? Because jail forces them to slow down the use of their energy. They get a little bit more energy back, because what else you gonna do? Your brain and all of a sudden, Now reading feels good to you. Reading could always feel good to you, but you burnt so much energy on so much stupid shit, you had no energy to read a fucking book. This is a cold fucking game.
Yo, also, even go deeper too, is that your environment. If you live in a place where it's always popping, gunshots, drama, this, that, the other, and you got to sleep there at night, how good sleep you think you're going to get? How much bandwidth do you think you're going to have? Like, you need peace. You need fucking peace. And so if you subjecting yourselves to be in hood environments and ratchet environments because that's tied to your self-values and self-worth, and that's who you were when you still holding on to that shit, then understand you entering the game on 60% power based on just living that paranoid life, checking the door, having to have your back to the wall and this and that, the other. Like, that shit also sucks your bandwidth and your ability to really be at your best self.
I read this next slide, and we're going to jump to this new lesson, which I'm going to close out the class, because the next lesson is going to take some time, so I want to give that next lesson some time. But this is the last slide of this one. And then what was it? Okay, we'll actually do 15 and 16, slide 15 and 16, the 2 slides. I'm going to let you read them. We're going to close out on these last 2. Then we're going to, Josh and team on slides, we're going to flip to the newest slides, okay? Okay, so hit slide number 15. Go ahead, just read this one.
Monkey-mindedness. Monkey mind is a term from meditation used to describe that incessant internal chatterbox that can leap from one topic to the next like a monkey swinging from tree to tree. Maybe you have a fight with your significant other, though it could just as easily be your parent, your child, your friend, or coworker, and he stomps out of the house. As you ride the train to the office, you find your mind buzzing. Tonight, I'm going to tell him just how frustrated I feel when he criticizes my parents. This anticipatory thought turns into a mock conversation in your head as you plan for the interaction. He might say something else nasty about your parents, so you'll respond with a comment about his loser brother. You forecast what you think he might say and plan your responses. By the time you get to work, you're completely worn out from the intense argument you've had inside your own head.
So this goes another level with it. So not only do you engage in wasted time, you could have a monkey mind, which that's what Court talked about earlier. You're now having this conversation inside your head. You had a full-ass argument inside your head, and now you're exhausted by the argument in your fucking head. Keep going, next one.
When we're in monkey mind mode, it's easy to start awfulizing, imagining worst-case scenarios or making too much of a minor problem. It's a huge sap of our energy and a complete waste of time. Even more than that, when you're spinning these imaginary dramas in your head, you aren't living in the moment. You're not noticing the flowers in the park or the interesting faces on the train. And you're not giving your brain the neutral space it needs for creative solutions. Maybe even the solution to whatever it was you were fighting about in the first place.
Okay, couple things. So imagine people walking down the street every day, monkey-mindedness. They don't even see the neighborhoods they're walking through. They don't even witness things going on. They can't see things in society that may need attention. And by the time they recognize it, is at the point when it's too bad. Because all the time you walk down the street, you're having discussions in your head because you have a monkey-minded. Because once again, this is the extension of the thought having control. The other thing is that I'm gonna give you a quick solution because I want to jump into the next media lesson. Actually, go hit one more. Let's hit one more. Hit one more. Slide number 17.
Monkey mind is obsessed with the push of the past. I just can't forgive what he did. And the pull of the future. I can't wait to quit and give my manager a piece of my mind. It's often filled with bossy, judgmental inner language. Words like must and can't and should. I must lose weight. I can't fail. I should feel this way. Monkey mind takes you out of the moment and out of what is best for your life.
I can't begin to tell you how dope this shit is. And next year, Court's going to really run through this whole book because he's going to be teaching for himself. And Court really is in this space. Like he really sits, like he's sitting in this Ferrari riding this space. you're losing control of your life. Let me show you a little trick I use with because it'll always happen. Your monkey mind is a thing. You can't, but let me tell you what I do with monkey mind. I shut the fuck up when monkey mind kicks in. Oh, I can recognize it now. And it'll take off for a second, and I let it run for about 2 minutes, solid 2 minutes. It'll go off to like, man, Shabisha should have, fuck her. She got this game fucked up. She don't know the fuck I am. And then after I go, are you done? Now, what the fuck you think really happened? You don't really know, do you? Why don't you call her and ask her with your stupid ass? Mm-hmm. This is how I talk to myself. Because I know, I'm an East Oakland kid, so monkey mind is the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. You sat down, I would sit in a room full of family members and watch them have a monkey mind open conversation with each other. Ain't nobody have any facts, but they all mad as a motherfucker, and ain't nobody gonna do nothing. Right? And so, and y'all still see it, pro-black cipher get together. They all mad about the world, don't know shit about the world, and they all ain't gonna do shit. Mm-hmm. Besides, go home, eat some beans and rice, and burn some sage, and talk and watch the same TV shows because it's only shows that feel good about being black. The reality is that, so I have that in me. I'm being 100%. I have that in me. But let me tell you what I do is I let it run for a short run, and because if I don't let it run, what I found is that if I don't let it run, it'll keep trying to talk to me too long. But once I just let it say what the fuck you gotta say real quick. Fuck Ashley. I don't give a shit about her. She got me fucked up. Sometimes I be putting people in graves. I put that motherfucker in the grave. They say another fucking word to me. I wish they would. If they call me right now, I go to their house and shoot them. Right? And then when the monkey mind finishes, but two, I'm not even exaggerating this, but I won't share with nobody. And when that 2 minutes is done, I said, now, what is it you really know? Can you 100% say that person meant that? And when I start that conversation, I realize, oh, that was just me. And then sometimes I may call them like, hey man, last week you said some stuff. What you mean by that? And they'll go this direction I didn't even know existed. And you realize how much you don't know, how much you can't see, how many blind spots you have. And you realize how much you victimize yourself. But give your time, space to have the conversation. Just shut the fuck up. Yeah. Don't gossip because then you leave residue in the real world. And the real world means that maybe now Ashley, let's say I'm talking about Court to Ashley because I don't let my monkey mind talk to Ashley. Now Ashley acted some kind of way towards Court, or she tells Court the fuck I said. Mm-hmm. But now I'm over it. But now I gotta own up to it because it's in the fucking wild. Because I open my fucking mouth. Shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Once you shut the fuck up for a few minutes and realize you're gonna have negative thoughts sometimes, just don't speak on them motherfuckers. Don't do anything with them. Don't speak on them. Just let them ride for a minute, and then process. Now, if you're in the early stages, find a friend who's a practical friend, and echo your dumbass monkey mind and say at the end of the conversation, I know I might be wrong. Talk me off this motherfucking cliff. Mm-hmm. But do me and don't call them all the time because they ain't going to listen to your crazy ass at the white. Now you a little crazy. You can't be calling every 35 minutes. Talking about, I got another fucking problem. Okay, it's too overwhelming. You got to be once every 2 or 3 weeks, right? And so the reality is that you got to give yourself room to be an asshole, but to yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to give yourself room to be, look, men been doing this, we give ourselves, men know that this is a practice men have been practicing for long, and maybe women do too. I can't speak on women because I'm not a woman. Men have nasty room. We have a nasty thought about a woman, but we know we ain't going to express it. We know, matter of fact, sometimes we tell our eyes, don't you look over there. Don't you look over there. I know, you know what you're thinking, but don't you look over there because your eyes will be like, So you don't look over there, right? But you also know, just because you had a nasty thought don't mean you want to know her. Or you want to spend time with her. Or you even want to follow that thought out, right?
Your brain be like, God damn.
Right? But you don't respond. You physically don't respond. You don't even go over there to meet the person because you realize, I don't need that problem in my life. Just how you could do that, you could do that with everything else, all your other emotions. Mm-hmm. When you get excited about something, when a con artist walk in a room and they get you excited, have it on the inside. And keep it, and then let your second brain kick in. What I'm saying is create space between the emotion and the action. That's what this whole thing is about. All your emotions and action needs to have space because sometimes once the emotion exhausts itself, then the system 2 can kick back in. You can process it. Because like same thing with men with women. We can see a woman across the room and Sister 1 goes, "How?" Then when it calms down, Sister 2 be like, "You don't want that. You know you don't want that. You know goddamn well you can't talk to her. You know goddamn well you ain't gonna want to see her after the night."
Black and Miles and Hennessy. It'll
Right?
smell like
You
smell
know,
like
you know
Black
all that
and Miles and
shit.
Hennessy.
You know she gonna try to get you to buy her a drink, and you ain't buying her punk ass a drink because I ain't that kind of sucker. Because some dudes buy drinks to try to come up. I'm not saying if I'm hanging out with somebody and I buy you a drink because I'm enjoying our company and that's what I want to fucking do. But I'm not gonna do it as a come up technique or tactic to try to get in bed with you. That's some punk ass shit. But some men do that punk ass shit. Right? I would never come to a woman and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to buy her into the bedroom." To me, that's kind of like, it's actually fucked up to a woman. Because if you get a young woman used to, because usually young women get used to this. If you get a young woman used to being purchased, when the man who was willing to purchase her for ethical reasons walk away, she's wide open to anybody purchasing her. So you just created a hole. And so the reason you don't, as a man, I don't buy women because I don't produce hoes. I grew up in a household full of powerful ass women, and you know, in my player days, I still understood I had to have a responsibility to protecting the community, and I can't just be doing certain things that's going to destroy women and leave a path of destruction behind me. My job is if I'm not building you, I should be fucking with you. And so, in that context, if I'm starting to teach you that I can keep you, you understand when I'm gone, you're now the best hoe to be pimped. That's game. It's real talk.
Hey, I just want to jump in real quick and say, to just double down on that routine is that
The pimp shit?
no, not the pimp
Okay,
shit.
okay.
Not the pimp shit, not the
I don't
pimp
know what
shit.
we're talking about right now. I
Not
know what
the
we're talking
pimp
about.
shit,
You
not
know
the
what I'm saying?
pimp shit.
The thought kicked in. I didn't think it wasn't even thinking no more. I just like,
I'm talking about the routine. When you feel the emotion, man, it's so good to just let that set and let it run its course, and don't move. Don't move. Don't take no action. Close the door. Lock the door. Because
Fix your face.
there's times where recently it happens all the time, at least once a week, where I sit there. Even sometimes I sit and be like, "What the fuck am I doing, entrepreneuring? You should go get a job." I've had that conversation with myself in my head, like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you don't know what the fuck you doing, dude." And then you let it process. You get pity, and then what I like to do is then I start. Once I get a hold of it, I start making fun of myself. You want some tissue? You want some tissue, little baby? You want some tissue? You want what you want? Like, you want? Are you sad? You want to cry? Then I'm laughing at myself. Like, all right, I'm being hella stupid. And then I go into the truth serum. Right, the truth serum comes next. Well, what's true about this? What you saying? Like what? Like, can you prove any of this shit? What assets do you have in this situation? What are your liabilities in this situation? If we taking ourselves to court right now and you really that stupid as an entrepreneur, then you're like, shit, my life is pretty good. And then now I'm happy. And then I'm walking out the room back Courtney. And I then took myself down this whole fucked up, what the fuck am I doing as an entrepreneur rabbit hole because of one instance that happened. But nobody never knows. So if you move like that, that can allow you to be way more centered as a human around other people. You know how you're talking about, man, when I was younger and I'd be around entrepreneurs and people who are performing at a high level, they just had this center of gravity about them that was just not too hot, not too cold, wise. That's where it comes from. It's not like they better. They process shit differently. Oh, man, I really want to fuck you up right now, and I could. Like, I already analyzed your whole shit. But what that's going to do? Nothing. What you tripping over? Like, go through the process in your head, and now you like, damn, Shakina, you always just seem so solid, and you always seem so together. What's your secret? And it ain't like you different than them. It's just the stimulus and response. The wherever you are on that between stimulus and response, you got more space.
And let me say this real quick too, because I want to move on. Let's not just think about the negative, also the positive. Let's say you're about to make a business decision and you're excited. That's dangerous. You happy. That's dangerous. Have your moment of happiness and excitement, then calm the fuck down and get real. Calm the fuck down and analyze everything. Try to look for the things that your happiness is blocking you from seeing. I can't begin to tell you this how many times I've learned this lesson. Oh, this is about to pop off. We about to do. And guess what? I missed about 20 steps. Because I just assumed I was so happy, and what happened is the emotion blinded me, and the thought became the dominant decision maker. The thinker was shut down because, like, oh, shut up. This is about to happen. No, I forgot that thought. Just go in there and get that shit. But when the thinker kicks back in, thinker be like, wait a minute. So that person's going to just come in here, but what if that's not true? The thinker can never ask that question. The thinker can't say, well, what if everything goes wrong? The thinker can't say, what's plan B if that doesn't work? What's plan C, D, E, F, and 1, 2, 3? You will literally shut down all thinking because the thought is dominating. This emotional thing is not just for the negative, it's for the positive. Many of y'all got fucked up baby daddies because the thought fucked you up in your happiness.
Ooh, swallow that.
Maybe it didn't. But what is this? Yeah, whatever. Grow the fuck up.
Yeah, that was
Y'all
the
know
wrong
what I
thing to
said.
say.
So, but what is this? So, but you guys want to go with this? Like, learn that the positive is. Stop making positive a strategy. This is the mindset of the workers. They think positive and good is a strategy. Positive and good is not a fucking strategy. Sometimes good is bad and bad is good. That's the Ecclesiastics. It's time for everything underneath the sun. Strategy says you don't always do the same thing all the time. When you're super happy, be aware you're vulnerable. When you're super mad, be aware you're vulnerable. When you're super sad, be aware you're vulnerable. So let's say you're super sad and somebody died, and then somebody be like, hey, Nana, they gonna need about $3,000 for the wedding, for the funeral, because their family just don't have that. And you get the $3,000 and you get there and you go to the wedding, the funeral, and you realize, oh, because they all smoking, they need to deal with, and he was a smoker, and he died from smoking the pipe. What the fuck? But you didn't think none of those questions because you felt so sad, and you took the story of what you knew about the person, you took the story of what you heard, you made your own assumption based upon a thought, you acted on the thought, you made a decision because you were sad, the thinker in the background going, can I speak? Shut the fuck up. I know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. You see where I'm going with this? All your emotions, when they become strong, blind you. When you went to the car dealership, many of you guys bought a car for too much fucking money because guess what? You were happy. You're excited. Y'all making bad decisions every fucking day behind emotions. And if somebody challenges you, you know how you know you're in an emotional space? You get emotional if you get challenged. So if you're a thinker, you welcome the challenge because you're like, I'm trying to find something I don't see. Hey, is there anything else you think might see that I can't see? But if a thought is dominant, and I go, hey, man, why'd you do that? Hey, man, don't ask me. That's my business. I do what I want to do. Or you start justifying it with anger and emotions. You're not in control. So some of y'all run around and read all these fucking books, but when it comes time to act on life, the thought dominates, not the thinker. So the thinker is smart as fuck, but they can't talk to you because you got this whole big ass wall up called thought. Mm-hmm. You guys starting to see how this emotional intelligence shit is cold blooded. And when you talk about black people not performing in business, I'm like, yo, it ain't got shit to do with money. You can take pennies and start flipping that shit through exponential growth, and before you know, you can be a multimillionaire overnight. The reality is that, but if you're reading all these books and you're going to the best colleges, but yet the thought still dominates, you still are trapped within the thought, not the thinker.
Man, I don't know if you realize how much priceless game this is. This is the difference between the kid who is an amazing practice hooper who can ball out in practice and get in games and can't play for shit. Because the thinker and the thought are separated. So he can't process. He can't even move his game over to a system 1 because of all of the things that he's stimulated by. He can't calm his mind down to say, let me make the best decisions, not make emotional decisions. That's how you convert yourself from a practice baller to a real baller. That's how you convert yourself from a person who reads all these books and has all this knowledge but don't have shit to somebody who's performing. That's why there's some people, there's a lot of, if you pull the people who have successful businesses who built stuff from nothing, it's not like they've read all the books that you read, done all the things that you do. They've took simple philosophies and they learned how to master them. They learned how to master them. They had self-discipline and learning how to say no to themselves to make the right decision or make the decision that's the most effective for them. So that's really how you convert yourself from the person who knows it all to the person who's really doing it and performing.
All right, I'm gonna switch over to the new slides. Give me 1 second. I was over there listening to Court. I forgot to move. Y'all think we don't listen to each other, but we actually I listen to him. So sometimes I'm listening to him and I forget, oh shit, I'm supposed to do something.
That's why I can't wait for next year, because sometimes I be like, damn, I want to take notes.
Same here. Sometimes, man, there's stories you tell, and I try to tell them when I leave here, they be all wrong. So now I was on 73rd. Dude did karate, so he kicked him in the mouth. Ah, fuck it. Anyway, the story is, he tells these amazing stories that have so much depth. Let's go by. A lot of times we don't realize what makes somebody brilliant is the ability to boil a complex idea down to something very simple. Mm-hmm. And what I enjoy by listening to Court is I wish I would have met him when I was first starting in the game, because he boils ideas I could have got back then. It took me, like, he could have sped up a lot of my process of growth, because I could have said, oh yeah, I can relate to that. Where, man, some of these ideas I got today, I promise you, it took a long time. I got hit in the face so many times. All these teeth are fake. How many times I got hit in the mouth by my mistakes? It's
story.
ridiculous.
I'm still getting hit in the face sometimes.
Okay. It's a closing lesson. This is a powerful ass lesson, y'all. Take y'all back into the Matrix. Going to the Matrix. Compounding. To the human brain, it seems like magic. Compounding is like magic. In our brain, we cannot even mentally process compounding. It's the magic of the world. But mathematically, we know about compounding interest. You could build a formula to be able to calculate compounding interest, which is crazy, by the way. But metaphorically, you have compounding in the areas of relationships, experience, and knowledge. And I don't think you guys understand how powerful that is. Often when you're sitting at your desk and your table, and let's say you met Mark Zuckerberg, or you met a great scholar, or you met somebody who was very, very powerful, you met Michael Jordan, your brain can't imagine being them at the moment. You might try to lie to yourself, and your ego might kick in. Mm-hmm. But deep down inside, if I say you could be Michael Jordan, you'd be like, come on, man, let's not go that far. Matter of fact, in life, they say where you start really dictates where you end up at. Some argue that success is the ability to punch above your weight. So wherever you were supposed to end up at, you went above that. You punched above your weight. Compounding is also tied to this idea of exponential growth. So there's a famous story of this king, and he had the king, one of his smart men of his kingdom created the chessboard. So he taught the king how to play chess. And the king said, man, I'm so grateful. What can I give you as a gift for teaching me how to play chess? He said, for every square on the chessboard, I want you to double the grain of rice. I want you to double the grain of rice for every square of the chessboard. So he told his workers, take care of that for him. So workers came back and he's like, yo, we can't do that. King said, what do you mean? He goes, if we do that, that's more rice than we have in our whole kingdom. He said, what do you mean? He said, through exponential growth, if we did that, we would owe him 18 quintillion pieces of rice. So 64 doubled every time would turn out to 18 quintillions. You see all those zeros? That's how many zeros is in quintillion. The king ended up killing the guy because he realized, I don't like to be tricked. That's how exponential growth works. Now, this is why bankruptcy in this country is necessary. Because a lot of times you guys get hit by compounded interest, and if you get hit high enough, you can never get from underneath it. Because it starts to grow and stack on top of itself. And this is why some people can become successful overnight in business. Because as it starts to grow, it starts to stack on top of itself. A lot of times we know about the growth, we often know about exponential growth, but we don't understand the negative sides of exponential impact. And so a lot of times you can make mistakes that has exponential impact or compounding impact that can cause a pile up that's so heavy it could destroy you. Now, it says, as with compound interest, most of the gains come at the end, not at the beginning. So in compounding, you cannot, when you first start compounding, like the first grain of rice, your brain can't wrap you can't wrap around your mind that it will turn to 18 quintillion. You usually don't recognize the value of compounding until the end of the journey or closer to the end of the journey, right? So if you start investing right now, you can't feel where your money will be on the back end of an investment that has exponential growth. In addition to that, nor can you even imagine what you will do with the money once you get there. So let's say I showed you guys a formula to save $1 million by the time you're 65, or $10 million by the time you're 65. You can't tell me at this age what you would do with that money. That's why I hate those commercials. They try to tell you what you would do with that money. You can't tell me. It's not possible. Because when you're 65, how you see what you see in life, what's valuable to you, what you want to do with that money, you might decide you want to travel the world. You might decide you want to make some greater investments. You might decide you want to continue to make the same investment. You might decide you want to take some opportunities that you never had before. But life will definitely be different, but you just can't see what that is, right? But what you will know is that when you get there, you will have more opportunities. What those opportunities will look like, you can't really tell, right? So it's not linear. Compounding is not a linear path. It's a path that happens where in the growth process, when you get there and where you're going, it's not necessarily clear. I think the rule they say is, don't focus on the outcome, focus on being on the right path. I know that, just stay with me, I'll get you somewhere. So it says, in order for compounding to work, you have to keep reinvesting your returns to experience the exponential growth that is compounding. So in order for compounding to work, you have to continue to reinvest, and reinvest. Remind you, I'm going to come back to this point in a second. In order for compounding to work, you have to continue to reinvest, and reinvest. In order for compounding to work, it is not about how much you're investing, it's that you stay consistent in your investment. Once the consistency stops, compounding doesn't work, right? Metaphorically for relationships, metaphorically for knowledge, metaphorically for all the above. In the same way that money compounds and grows by earning, well, matter of fact, Shabisha, you probably should read this because I want to kind of focus on the thought before, because if I read it, I gotta read it and read it again and produce a thought. So, because this is a very hard one. So Shabisha, read this one for me, and I'm gonna pick up from there.
In the same way that money compounds and grows by earning interest, debt can compound too, even to the point where it becomes essentially impossible to pay off.
Credit cards, you guys know about this stuff, right? But ignorance also has compounding interest. Loneliness has compounding interest. Debt. Excuse me. Debt, oh, excuse me. Knowledge, ignorance has debt that can be so heavy that you can't get from under. Relationships has debt, can be so heavy you can't get from under. Decision making has debt so heavy at some point you cannot get from under it again. Keep going.
Compounding is a crucial, versatile mental model to understand because it shows us that we can realize enormous gains through incremental efforts over time. It forces us to start thinking long-term because the effects of compounding are only remarkable on a long timeline, and most of the gains are realized near the end. Side note, all that matters is making continuous progress, no matter how small.
So let me say this real quick. If you're a person that's just only in the moment and you're not thinking about what every decision you make matters to or is compared or compounding with the next group of decisions or how it's having long-term effect, it's called second choice thinking. You're not thinking about the decisions you're making and how they're going to impact you down the road. You may unconsciously be compounding problems that will destroy you. In order for you, this is why we say this is why I wanted to go over that lesson about the use of the brain and how you have to move and show up. You cannot show up to this concept I'm about to introduce you guys to of compounding if you're making a lot of impulsive decisions. Because bad decisions compound that even though they may be small now, stay with me, over a certain amount of moves, 64 moves, you have 18 quintillion problems, and this ain't one. Or what is it? The bitch ain't one. But listen, you got 18 quintillion problems that will, at some point, shape your life, right? You have to pay attention to a lot of small decisions because they compound to become heavy as weights in your future. After a while, you're dragged down by all the bad decisions you made up to that point. Some of you guys are thinking that when you go to sleep and you wake up, the day is refreshed, and the new decisions are just the next day is the next day. Now realizing today is compounded from every decision you made from previous days. You guys going with me on this? It's just, I promise you where I'm about to go with this shit. It's so cold. All right, let me go back to this for 1 second. Next one.
In a process akin to money compounding, the impact of decisions we make early on in any endeavor grows in their impact over time. They can have a greater impact than decisions made later on because their consequences compound.
So once again, you could become smarter, but be victimized by all the combination of all the poor decisions you made, small decisions you made. So it could be the smaller compounded decisions, bad decisions, can become greater than the smart decisions you're making right now. You guys with me? I'll give you a poor example. Let's say you guys seen this where on the somebody gets canceled for some shit they said 10 years ago, right? Or somebody gets on camera and they change. But as soon as they get on camera, this is small, but it goes way deeper than this. Way, way deeper, but I don't want you guys to shrink it to this small subject, but just kind of help your mind wrap around how something small can become big. Let's say all you have to set up to yesterday, you decide, I'm gonna change my life. But just because you change your life doesn't mean you get to walk away from all those bad decisions you made up to that point. You still gotta respond, and even though you become a smarter person making greater decisions, those smaller decisions will still become a heavy weight, sometimes even greater than the new version of who you become. And so this is why when you guys understand this bigger shit, this compounding thought, this is when you start realizing entrepreneurs pay attention to small shit, Because we're understanding that it will compound on us and will destroy all of our energy. We could be the strongest, most smartest, most hardest hitting, most strategical person, but we compounded our own destruction by a whole bunch of bad, small decisions. This is so much fucking fire I'm about to give y'all.
Yeah.
That is not in our conversations. It's not in the media. I don't know where I see this shit at. But entrepreneurs know this shit. Like, this is why small shit. Look, if you ever hear me and Mashama talk, it seems like we just picking over like small things. Because we know once these things grow and they stack on top of each other, that's a big ass thing that we forget the causation. Because it's so far. It's 64 moves of things stacking. You never realize that, if I would have never doubled that one piece of rice, I would never be here where I got quintillion. I mean, you know how many pieces of rice is quintillion? Man, from doubling just one piece of rice? So that small ass decision of I'm gonna double one piece of rice has now become a quintillion problem in your life?
Hey, and here's a deal. This is amazing. The thing about compounding is the first 7 or 8, you ain't tripping. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16 pieces of rice. So soon you go on autopilot. You stop paying attention because in your brain it's small. It's the same thing when it comes to, let's say, weight. Hey, I'm going to just eat this one bad thing, this one thing. I ain't tripping. It didn't change my body. I'm going to do it again. It didn't change my body. Soon, after 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 times, it starts becoming a part of your diet, and now it's seeped down into your unconscious, and you don't even know that it's compounding. So next thing you know, 64 moves later, you don't realize, how the fuck did I get this big? It's not until you track everything you eat to say, hey, it's this thing. Oh, shit, I forgot that I'm even eating this every day. It's a cold game in life, in business, in relationships, all the shit.
The question?
Yeah, quick, because it's a lot I'm going to go through. Can you serve the coaches to the end?
Yes.
Okay, just take a note if you need to take a note for a second, but I want to make sure we're there because I want to get through this lesson. And this is kind of a difficult one to teach because it's not a generic lesson. It's not something you go see on television. And I don't think people have many reference points. You probably go home and talk about this, and you're probably going to fuck it up because it's going to be hard to talk about. But as long as you understand compounding interest and how it's one of the modern miracles of the world, but how it's affecting how we're moving. And matter of fact, let's just get through it, and then let's reserve all questions for the end. Okay, next one.
We didn't finish. Okay.
Okay, next one. Go ahead.
Next one.
Yeah.
With compounding, you don't always know the payoff. Small investments over time in areas like relationships or learning have immediate benefit, which is usually what prompts us to undertake the initial commitment. But one of the most fascinating properties of using compounding as a lens is that it illuminates how investments now can give us opportunities later that we can't even imagine now.
Read that last paragraph one more time. I want you folks to pay attention really close to this last paragraph. This shit is critical. Say it one more time.
Small investments over time in areas like relationships or learning have immediate benefit, which is usually what prompts us to undertake the initial commitment. But one of the most fascinating properties of using compounding as a lens is that it illuminates how investments now can give us opportunities later that we can't even imagine now.
Court said, this is what this class is about. 100% correct. Some of you guys are trying to read books to go get something, like a trade-off. What book should I read now because I need more money? Right? You guys are treating knowledge as it's a linear pipe to like branches to what you want. So I got this knowledge, I go get that. Got this knowledge, I go get this. Compounding is giving you talents that you cannot realize in the moment. Kaja works at Google. She told 1,000 people that. We know she works at Google, so don't be calling her up. I want a job. but she works at Google. Kaja said online before we met her, I'm not even sure why I'm here, but I'm here because I think I like this stuff. Kaja doesn't need to know what she's going to get from it. But if Kaja stays the way she is, what she can get is outside of our imagination in this conversation. Knowledge is not transactional. It's a compounded investment for something that will give you opportunities in life you can't even begin to imagine. That doesn't even fit those stories, those thoughts, those ideas, those beliefs, the people around you. All that has ability to flip on its side outside. It's almost the ultimate walk of faith, the compounding of money, knowledge, relationships. This is compounding is what a Christian needs to understand. Many of y'all go to church looking for a transaction. God, I did this. Why don't you look at me? God took my sister. Why would he do that to me? Transaction. Mm-hmm. If you see church in the Bible or Islam, Quran, or Buddhism as a compounded investment, you're in the game with no immediate gratification. Understand Judaism. If in no immediate benefit, but long-term return.
Yo, fuck. Let's talk real. I'm gonna condense this. We're celebrating a player right now, most 3-pointers in NBA history, Steph Curry, right? He's a god. He's this. He's that. He's that. He's the best shit. Reggie Miller did it in 1,300, 1,400, almost 1,400 games. Steph Curry did it in 700 games. He cut it in half. That's fucking amazing, right? How? He wasn't a top draft pick. He barely got into college because only one school recruited him. A school that nobody never even heard of. He was on nobody's radar. He was the smallest kid, skinniest kid, shortest kid, wackest kid. He was just a typical ex-NBA player's son who's trash because most of them are trash. How? How did he get to be this dude and nobody called it? Can't nobody be like, I knew Steph Curry was going to be raw. Nobody called it. And then even if you had a glimpse of hope, you thought he might be good, he started fucking his ankles up. He's like, oh, he too fragile. This motherfucker ain't going to last. How did he get to here? Compounding. One thing that they said about Steph Curry, they said he never was that good. He never stood out in no camps, no tournaments, no nothing. But you know what he was always? The last one in the gym. And he didn't know it wasn't transactional. He didn't know what he was going to get. He didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but he was always the last one to leave the gym every single fucking time. So he was investing in his game, just trusting the process. And that's investment. That's compounding on your game. So over time, like it says, you don't really get your windfall until the end a lot of times. So it takes to the 64th time to be like, oh shit, this dude is a god. But the process is the small investments over time.
Like we use the word transactional, it implies you know what you're getting back. Compounding is you're spending just trusting that it's going to grow to a point that it's going to give you an opportunity you never imagined. That for most people ain't how we move. That's why I hate the first 3 months of class, because everybody's in here talking about transactions. What knowledge can I get from you? What's my transaction? If I pay this much money to get this knowledge from you, what can I get for that? You get the fuck up out of here. That's what you can get. Because that's not how it works. This shit is not knowledge is not transactional. You got to be in the game for the growth and then trust the transaction that comes on the back end. Same thing for if Christian ministers taught you well, they would say, hey, you're not in this because if you get to level 6, God said, if you get to level 6, you get this. Level 7, you get this. Level 8, you get that. It's saying, if you trust this process, the rewards of heaven be poured down upon you. Mm-hmm. But y'all don't trust the process because y'all too transactional. In business entrepreneurs, we got to trust the process. So we're compounding. We understand the principle of compounding. We realize so when you first start, you won't realize the benefits of it. It doesn't even make sense. So let's get to a story about the Jewish community. There was these two scholars who decided to trace the history of the learning practices of the Jewish community, because the Jewish community are very educated people. Very, very educated people. Now, mind you, the world has become envious of them and attacked them for their progression and their growth. But if you go to the history of even the European Ashkenazi Jews, they're very educated fucking people, right? Amazing people. So in there, let's go to this next story. So let's start with that first. Next slide. Now this is during the first century. Now the first century of the Jewish community, let's start from there. Let's go.
First century Jewish scholars and religious leaders issued a religious ordinance requiring all Jewish fathers to send their sons from the age of 6 or 7 to primary school to learn to read and study the Torah in Hebrew.
Keep going.
Throughout the first millennium, no people other than the Jews had a norm requiring fathers to educate their sons.
So first century, there was no law and I'm not saying, I don't know what's happening, because a lot of these stories are European focused. So let's say in Europe, right? I can't speak for Africa. And the world wasn't like today, where you could look at TV and go, "What are you doing in Australia?" It didn't work like that. So some shit can be happening in Africa, and there's no record of that, right? But in Europe at this time, learning like this was not a cultural thing. Jewish community said, "Hey, send the children to school early," right? They didn't have a motivation for that. They didn't even know where they were going. Some people just say it was just a religious commitment, right? But let's talk about the outcomes. Let's keep going.
The literacy of the Jewish people, coupled with a set of contract enforcement institutions developed during the 5 centuries after the destruction of the Second Temple, gave the Jews a comparative advantage in occupations such as crafts, trade, and money lending.
Keep going.
So while most of the population in medieval Europe consisted mainly of illiterate peasants, sharecroppers, and agricultural laborers, Jewish people were able to leverage their literacy and other aspects of their culture to specialize in lucrative professions. 8 Jewish people took advantage of the opportunity their education gave them by moving into professions that paid well.
I want y'all to hear what the fuck okay. This study of the Jewish culture is beyond, this story of the Jewish culture is beyond, I don't think you understand, this is the formula right here. This is the coldest formula you ever heard. Stay with me. The rabbis required fathers to educate their kids. Everybody is pretty much illiterate peasants, including Jews at this time. Either in agriculture, farming, that's pretty much what most of the world did. But because the rabbi, through starting children to learn about, to learn Hebrew and learn the Torah, it became a learning culture. They learned to read before everybody did. They learned to do transactions. They understood math early. This allowed them to take advantage of opportunities that unfolded that the average person couldn't take advantage of, because they can read, they can write, they can communicate, they can do math, they can organize. This put them in a position. They created an emergent system, meaning they raised their base by learning as a group, that they were able to take advantage of opportunities that was just society that revealed to them. It wasn't that they knew what was happening. It's just because they religiously started a pattern that put them in a position to exploit opportunities, right? The opposite also applies. Those who had a different set of patterns became victims of different new opportunities. See the difference? Black people, slavery, your pattern. Opportunities pop up, guess where you are? It's at the bottom. People who have a learning rhythm in the culture, when new opportunities pop open, guess where they at? At the top of the game. Guess what Hope is trying to create? A group of entrepreneurs who are learning at a ridiculous rate through compounding learning, and when opportunities pop open, guess where our entrepreneurs are in position, we're in a position to do? Take advantage of those opportunities because of our rate of learning. You see where I'm going with this? But as we change the way we learn and engage information, We're setting ourselves up for future opportunities to be in a position of power. Even if everybody that can hear my voice die, if our children see us in a pattern and they join that same group, they will be rewarded, one, by our level of growth and the conversation that happens in our household. That's their new foundation that they're building upon. So they're thinking at a whole different scale level. Then as they join these kind of groups, when new opportunities arise, they're in a position to capitalize on those opportunities. I would argue that's what happened with Stanford and Silicon Valley. Most of the people who are founders of Silicon Valley came out of a circle of intelligence. They weren't all family and friends, but they was all benefiting from the same circle of intelligence. You guys get where I'm going with this? This is compounding. This is some shit that we talk about solving problems. Look, you didn't get here overnight, you don't get out of here overnight. So what's the long-term plan? It's a compounded solution. Me just trying to think about how do we stop this and how do we change this? It's compounded. You start here and you build, before you know you're out of that position, right? But we got to think about that long-term, generational. If it's all about you, you ain't part of this conversation because you can't compound. As soon as it's time to reinvest, you can't. You can't read one book. You can't learn for the season. You got to learn and then take what you learned and learn more. You got to experience what you experience and then take what you experience more. You got to build relationships and use those relationships to have more relationships. But if you don't understand compounding, you're just really jumping in a moment with no direction.
A lot of us want to win a lottery because it's easier. Here's my goal. Here's where I am. I want to blow up. I want to win the lottery. The thing is if you did win the lottery, you cannot repeat that shit. The beauty of compounding is it's logical steps along the way. You've invested in yourself along the way, and you kept so that if you get lost or confused, you can find a center. You can retrace some steps. Winning a lottery, you fucked. There's no causation. There's no data that you can glean from to get back to where you were before. With this philosophy, this is part of your insurance policy to say, all right, shit.
Ultimate insurance policy.
It's an insurance policy. Even if this shit falls apart, because I've trusted the process, once I get back on my feet, I could do it again.
Once you understand that knowledge is something you compound, you take every opportunity to learn what you can learn. You don't have a problem reading stuff from all. You don't need to just read about business. You can read about stuff that philosophy, culture, history, how particular businesses handle such a situation. You're taking every opportunity to learn. You take every opportunity to experience is learning. Conversations are learning, right? You don't try to narrow your pipeline because then you're trying to make learning transactional. I'm going to read business books so I can be good at business. There's no such thing. If you want to be good at business, you learn about everything. That's why I hate business courses. They're going to teach you about this narrow category in business. I'm like, that doesn't make you a good worker. It don't make you a good business person. Compounding is you're constantly learning. You develop. Remember I told you guys I read an hour and a half a day. I'm compounding. A lot of times when I read those books, I'm like, this is dope. This is dope. The reward don't come for years later. When that idea matures, when it connects to other ideas, other experiences, other people who I've had conversation with, other friction points in my life, other hard times, it creates this recipe that drives a solution, an opportunity I can't even imagine. I never forget when we financially got past $1 million, Mashama was like, dude, I never imagined we'd be here. He's right. Compounding is not imaginable. Your future of success. Some of you guys like, how do you achieve success? You guys are trying to draw a line between where you are now and where success is going to look like and what you got to do. Can't. It's a compounded action, meaning that you can't draw the line. You just got to invest in the disciplines that will give you that reward, not draw the fucking line. So you guys are trying to what book should I read? Should I read that book or this book? Because, I ain't got that much time. You're compounding. It doesn't work like that. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, what book did you read? You're compounding. It doesn't fucking matter. Read everything.
Read everything.
Read everything you can.
Read everything.
Become hungry for knowledge and realize you're constantly, consistent. And some weeks you're going to invest slow. Some weeks you only read 10 minutes a day. But next week, get back to an hour. It's just like weight loss. Weight loss is an act of compounding. You don't get to work out one time and be thin for the rest of your life and with a six-pack abs until you're 60 years of age. Fuck no. It's a consistent compound. Once you guys take away, because linear is the way our brain wants to think. And so linear often, especially the poorer you are put in linear systems all the time. A conveyor belt is a linear act. When it comes down the line, you stamp. When it goes to you, you stamp. When it goes to you, you stamp, right? Many of us have jobs who have trained us to be linear, right? We went through a linear school. Even though school was trying to compound, they had linear language as we was trying to be compounded through the process. So we looked at school through a linear lens. So then when it comes time for our own life, we look at it in a very linear way. So we're saying, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. If it don't make progress, it don't make sense. If it ain't gonna make me happy, it don't make sense. Fucked up ass think is linear. Compounding says, hey, you may not even know why you're reading this fucking book. You enjoy it. You're having a good time reading it. It's connecting you some new ideas. You're expanding, you're growing. You're like, I love that book. Like when I read the book on war this year, it had nothing about business. Nothing about business. The book on freedom, tribalism, and war had nothing. The book on Fooled by Randomness, well, it had a little bit about business, but a lot of shit was just really philosophical. That shit is valuable to me. I'm compounding. I don't need to know where this is going to go, but I can't tell you how many times I walked into a room and the opportunity is right in front of me, and somebody who has ability to transfer money from their system to my system is right here. A problem will arise that I didn't even know was going to come, had no way to predict that problem. And it rises to the top, and you can see my whole team is looking at the problem like a deer in the headlight, like, whoa, we didn't anticipate this. And all of a sudden, all those things I didn't even know had any value come to the surface, and Michelle be like, how do you navigate out of that shit? I ain't special. I'm compounded.
Man, real talk. Hey, I want to jump on this. There's nothing in this universe that's not human-made that's linear. Everything on this planet is expansive, spherical, it grows, and it doesn't grow in a straight line. Nothing grows in us. Even us as humans, how we're made ourselves, we're made from compound interest. You start as 1 cell, you double to 2, then you go to 4, then you go to 8, then you go to 16, you go to 32, and you keep doubling until you formed into a little something. And you keep doubling until you formed into a human. You are a product of compounding. You. So there's nothing that's linear. Anytime scientists are looking out into the universe, into the planets or whatever, anytime they see something that's a straight line, they're like, ooh, maybe there's human life there, because they know there's nothing. The universe don't make shit like that. They don't make straight lines. So if something's straight line, that means a human had to be there trying to line some shit up again, trying to make a square or a triangle. Oh my God, that's all we do. Make triangles, squares, rectangles, because our brain is wired like that. But the world, the universe don't work like that. So when you grew and you got 11, 12, and you got big feet and big teeth, but you were still short, and like, because the universe grows non-linearly, you grow non-linearly. So we can't think in those terms. Sometimes when you're reading a book over here and you're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like you said, it may be 2 years later where you realize, oh, now I understand this thought now because I've read it before, but now I get it completely, because that was the missing piece you needed to understand this piece up here. That's the game.
You can't predict that. Stop trying to control your journey.
I like control.
And guess what? And you got to ask yourself where that comes from, right? And who loves it the most? Matter of fact, you ever met that old black janitor? They're the most control experts, right? You ever met that woman who worked at the fast food restaurant, who's been there for how long as a manager, and never go any further? They're hella controlling. You ever meet an entrepreneur? A successful entrepreneur, they may just disappear in a moment on your ass. You're like, what the fuck? Because in the end, they realize it's a calculation to it's a reason to the game. And so knowledge is, like, I can't begin to tell you guys how much we got this knowledge game all fucked up. We look at it like, oh, I need this curriculum, I take this class, I get this degree, I get a degree, it's a straight line. You have almost a straight line projection of your career. I get retired, I get old, I go take a vacation, I get married, I did this, I have kids. All this linear idea. No! Cut that stupid shit the fuck out. You're compounding. You're fucking compounding. And if you don't see you're compounding, then you're trying to control something that is not within your control. Life is so fucking random that and if you try to control it, all you're doing is you're letting the thought control you, not the reality. I'm trying to teach you guys how to think, because you guys thought when I was talking about thought, you thought when we were talking about thought, you guys thought we was talking about when you have some kind of attitude about somebody or some shit that happened in your life, and now you in some kind of space where you got an attitude and thought. But you guys also don't realize when you just think about life in itself, it's a thought. It's not real. Many of us are thinking about life within the parameters of a thought, and we never sat down and go, how does life really work? And so when I introduce reality to you guys, I'm trying to get you guys out of who's in control, the thinker or the thought. So some of you intelligent motherfuckers are still within the thought. Until you understand how your thoughts are aligned with reality, that's only when the thinker can really rule. And so a lot of your actions, how you move every day, is because you assume things are linear and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I did everything I was supposed to do yesterday. So if I just keep doing this, after a while, it's going to all fall in place because I'm going down this perfect pipe and I'm just doing this and I don't want no other distractions. And when I get free time, there ain't no reason for me to learn anything new because this is all I want in life. This is why you can't have it. Because what you want in life is compounded by multiple experiences that are random. This shit is so cold. Yeah. The human brain, look, we tell stories like shit had a reason for happening, but everything that happens in human life is random. Let me say this again. Everything that happens in your life is random. What time did you brush your teeth? Is it perfectly the same time every time? Was it when you left your house was the same time every time? We got in your car, you drove here, was the same time every time? Did every car repeat the exact same pattern when you got here? Did everything, did the universe work exactly the same way every day? No, life is purely random. You learn to embrace that thought when it works in your favor. And so in this situation, when you run, one of the miracles of life is compounding is one of those modern day human miracles that our brain can't wrap ourselves around it, but it actually is a math that works in our life, and metaphorically it impacts the way our life actually works. Next slide. Experience.
Experience also compounds. If we choose to build on the skills we've developed by using them in new situations, we are significantly more capable later in life. Using compounding as a lens to look at personal experience isn't about proving an equation. Rather, this model can give us insight on what it means to reinvest what we learn through experience.
So let me give you a fun example. A close friend of ours, she knows who she is, went traveling one time with me and my wife. And we all packed suitcases that were like the size of a duffel bag. And they rolled up with a house. Suitcase so goddamn big, I could have got the motherfucker got a free plane flight. So I tell the person, what are you doing? They got angry. Well, I am, and this is who I am. Thought. I said, fuck it, come on. Because in the end, that's the experience they need to have. But when she had the experience, if she learned each time from the experience, by the time she's on her fourth trip, she'll be down to a duffel bag, if not smaller. Because she'll realize, I didn't need any of this shit. If she pays attention. Now, if she doesn't pay attention, she'll continue to take that same thought and just repeat the same damaging experience, right? Every time you have experience in life, you should perfect it if you're in constant reflection mode, then adjust, and then have experience again. And then you compound the experiences to make yourself an expert. The reason many of us never become an expert, because we don't reflect. Then you'll get in my face and be like, no, I've taken 20 trips in my life. I know what I'm doing. No, the fuck you don't, because you never reflected.
Also, too, man, a lot of times we want to enter a situation and already be good. Compound interest requires that you start at 1 grain of rice. So many of us can do compounding, but our ego won't allow us to step into a room and be 1 grain of rice. We don't want to do it. I don't want to. Well, how I look like? I don't want to. I don't want to come to this class and listen. I'll look bad or this. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to be 1 grain, 2 grain, 4 grains, 8 grains when the room is 1,000 grains. Once you get comfortable knowing this shit, like once you get comfortable knowing you ain't tripping. I ain't tripping. I walk in the gym and I can only squat 10 on each side. I don't give a fuck because I know what compounding does. So as long as I stay at it, as long as I keep improving, as long as I can improve just a half of a rep, I don't even got to improve a whole rep. I don't give a fuck. I know I'm going to get there. It may take me 18, 19 steps, but I'm getting there. So the key to being successful at this is be comfortable in that first 10 steps. Hey, I don't know shit. I look like a new booty. Whatever it is, be comfortable. All right, it's cool. They're going to be talking shit to you, making fun of you. You ain't going to be able to have conversations in their circles because you ain't going to understand shit. All you're looking for is to go from 1 to 2. That's it. If you get smacked, if you get your ass whooped, the win was, did I go from 1 to 2? Then I won. That's it.
Before I go forward, I think y'all just give that a second for a process. He just talked about the ego in a cold-blooded way that brings it all home. Well, it's more to bring it. It's just more ways to bring ego home. But today, this is like if he's arguing a case, we can close the court and go home on this one on the ego argument. Many of us don't want to compound. Some of y'all, if you were to remove envy from white people, how would racism sound? Some of y'all are like, well, they got this, we should have this. He has this, so that we should have this. It's not fair that they can do this and we can't do that. That reality they have is compounded. They have a right to have certain schools that we can't have. They have a right to have certain neighborhoods that we don't have. They have a right to have certain hospitals we don't have. They have a right to have certain stores that we don't have. They have a right to have certain type of hospitals that we don't have. They have a right to have certain type of entertainment that we don't have. But we can't have it. It's compounded. Because you're linear, you think it is never going to happen. If you understand compounding, you'll say, we can actually manufacture it if we start a little bit at a time. Before we know it, we can have everything anybody else has, right? You so stuck in your thought of envy, you can't even get started because you're so damn angry at the bottom. And then you watching all these motherfucking rappers who are ignorant children who don't know anything about fucking wealth, and they're ignorant babies. Ignorant is not a bad thing, but all of us are ignorant. So if you think, oh, that's fucked up, well, you ignorant fuck too, so fuck it. We all ignorant as motherfucker. I'm ignorant telling you, I'm an ignorant motherfucker talking to you, ignorant ass. So the point is this, and so we're all ignorant in this game, but we don't all realize that we have to climb on in this journey. Here's the thing, I'm never gonna stop being ignorant. I've accepted that. So I don't mind you saying that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, why? As opposed to, well, it would make sense for Marquita, and Josh said he liked that shit. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What the fuck wrong with you? That's why you can't go nowhere. Compounding is, there's a servitude process, and when you 1 grain of sand, there's a stage you got to go through. Run that motherfucking race. But we won't get into it because it's part of the lesson. Next one.
One of the key components of financial compounding is the reinvestment. When the money you have invested earns interest, you can't take it out and go buy a new pair of shoes. You have to reinvest that interest into the original investment so you can increase the amount of funds earning interest. We can think of using what we've learned in a similar way. The insights we get from experiences will pay off more if we reinvest them into further experiences.
Yep. I'm going to pause on that, but I'm going to take this from the knowledge, then come back to experience. Some of y'all start to grow, and you start taking money out the bank because you can't wait to go tell everybody how smart you are. You can't wait to go flex your status. You can't wait to go, now mothers can't talk to you because I'm at this level now. You're at this level. That's a withdrawal. When you learn something, it should make you hungry to go learn more. And when somebody comes to you, go, what do you know? You be like, shit, I don't really, look, this is what I know right now. I can't really say I own this right now because I'm learning. This is great. Doesn't mean that I'm not benefiting from it, but some of y'all can't wait to plant your flags. This is an ego comment, right? Now, experience-wise, it's also a situation, but in your learning situation, you guys plant flags and you start saying, this is who I am. I'm smart. I went to PhD. I'm graduate. I'm this. I'm that. I learned this. I was in Hope for 5 years. Wham. Broken ass. You're destroying your compounding. Or, yeah, I already read that book before. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I seen that. You know, I listened to him before. Yeah, I heard that before.
Hey, real entrepreneurship, a lot of times, you talking about reading books. Oh, I read the book. How many times? How many times? Because real deep shit, hey, yeah, I read that shit 4 times. I had to. There's not a knock on you. I remember Nana talking about people wanting a grocery store. I want to have a grocery store in the hood. Let's start with just a little stand. Let's start with a little stand, and then flip that, then grow it, and then you got a little cart, and then you got a little tiny space, in a little 500 square foot space. Then you got 1,000 square foot, and next thing you know, from compounding, you got a whole ass grocery store. But that's how this shit works. We want to jump out and go straight to a Safeway, straight to fucking Rayleigh's or whatever the fuck, because our thinking is like, I don't want people seeing me as little. But that's how you build it. That's how you build it.
Next slide. This is now, go back to experience. This is a code. This is how it brings it together real cold. Okay, hit this one. Go with it.
Exponential gains from what we've learned aren't standard. Not everyone who has a degree in journalism wins the Pulitzer. Not everyone who has a lemonade stand as a kid ends up running a national juice chain. Humans have evolved to be pretty good at using past experience to guide future decisions. So a lot of knowledge compounding happens naturally over time, especially when we were young. But sometimes we get stale. We stop reinvesting that interest because we stop challenging ourselves. We stop compounding our learning. 20 years of living become the same year repeated 20 times. Wow.
Ooh, that hurts.
I think because somebody at home was the kids, Mama, give me some juice. Go back to where it says, but sometimes we get stale.
But sometimes we get stale. We stop reinvesting that interest because we stop challenging ourselves. We stop compounding our learning. 20 years of living become the same year repeated 20 times.
Hey, I see it in the gym. Gym is a community. You'll have people in that motherfucker who've been working out for 15 years and are the same exact fucking size the whole time. Don't change shit. All overweight and they in the gym almost every day. Why? How? Or somebody who's been entrepreneuring this whole time and ain't never got off the ground. It all boils down to what are we learning from our experience? What are we learning? If you can't extract anything from today, hey, did it win? Did it feel better, more energy, less energy? If you're not extracting, reflecting on your day, on what you're doing, then you got to repeat that shit the next day. And then it can happen for years and years over time that you realize time goes by so fast and you get caught up in the routine of things. You could be, and actually, like, what? How come I ain't changing? Or how come my money hasn't changed? Or how come my relationship hasn't changed? It all boils down to extracting the lessons from it so we can grow.
I listened to Athena X. And he said one of the reasons people don't grow in working out is because they stop before they get to a point where they can't do it anymore. So they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. That's my set. Whew. He said if you want to see fast growth, you got to either increase volume or intensity. And increasing intensity, that means you stop until that muscle says, I can't. Help me get this weight off me. I'm doing push-ups. I can't get myself off the ground. I'm doing squats. Last one. You see results. It said in this line here, it says when you become stale because you stop compound learning and you stop challenging yourself. Many of you guys are reading books that make you feel good. It ain't challenging a fucking thought in your head. It's just validating everything you've already thought. Many of you guys are not pushing yourself where you can feel where you're at the final point of, I can't go no further. This book is so hard for me to read. My God, I've been listening to this shit for 3 hours. Oh, I wrote this paper. Oh, God, I gotta go teach this thing. Many of us not pushing ourselves. And then you jump your lazy ass in the bandwagon of, oh, the reason I'm not here because of racism. Because racism gives you an excuse for being fucking not pushing yourself and not compounding. Because what happens is, because you can't see the straight line, and you see people who came before you said, well, I went down a straight line and it didn't work for me, and I tell you, I had to work twice as hard to get half as much, and I didn't get what was coming to me. You say, well, my daddy told me, and he said, if you go messing with them, sir, you ain't gonna go that far. So I just realized white people are racist, and they ain't gonna let us get no farther, boss. Not realizing it's because you didn't know what you were doing. Your life is a result of you not understanding the art of compounding and how you have to drive at a certain level to get the results you wish to have. The 20-year staleness of your life is because for 20 years you ain't never pushed yourself. You ain't never changed your patterns. You've been so busy defending what you believe in, you ain't changed shit. That's why when I taught this class, back then I say, black people have one big problem. Well, we have multiple big problems, but I used to summarize some of these things. I said, we master defense, but we have no offense. Offense is realizing, oh shit, I got to measure my compounding effect. What is my daily, weekly, monthly investment? I remember talking to Pastor Chris. Pastor Chris says, he told people around him, he says, there's certain things I have to learn. I need this in my life. What Pastor Chris was saying to people around him was, I need information that may not necessarily be within my core study. Because Pastor Chris is a man, he studies the Bible like I study sandwiches, which I don't miss a piece of grain. But the point is this, he studies the hell out of the Bible, right? And he knows his Bible. But he realizes that through compounding knowledge and information, it makes him a greater minister. That's the formula in itself. But some of y'all, mind you, and go back to what we said about the energy, some of y'all don't even have the energy to compound these experiences. Get on that plane and go travel. Go experience different people. Sit in different circles. Hear different conversations. Go through things you never did. Challenge yourself. Otherwise, 20 years will pass and ain't shit changed. Like you were on a trajectory, like you almost grew similar to how things grow based upon interest. You didn't grow faster than interest. If life said, well, somebody who breathes should at least get 10, you get that 10. You'd be like, well, yeah, I was an 8. You didn't become an 8. You at the bottom. The 10 is now the new bottom, fool. Mm-hmm. The next one, let's keep it going.
To gain insight and eventually wisdom, we need to reinvest our knowledge and let it compound.
Uh-oh.
One way to do that is to be more deliberate about identifying how our past experiences can improve our chances of success in future ones.
Hey, it kind of goes back to the other slide, is we spend a lot of time in the past and the future. In order to do this, anything that's being said in this paragraph, you got to have your body. You got to be inside your body. You got to be inside your present. You got to show up for yourself. If not, if you're running to your past and you always putting yourself in the future, you can't come up with any strategies. So in order to be deliberate about anything, you have to be firm in who you are right now. So wisdom and insight, Again, this is all based on application of this. So compounding is based on application. You can't grow if you can't analyze. And if you're not in your body, if you're not present with yourself, which is the other word, you can't analyze and you can't grow.
Or if you haven't managed your energy, you can't be present because you don't have no energy to be present. If you're tripping on a lot of bullshit, if you're out there engaging too much noise, you don't have the energy to show up to that space. And so you have to be conscious and aware of, this is happening to me because of what have I done? How have I compounded the situation? Things that happen to you, ask yourself, what have you done to compare? What is this called? I think it's called radical responsibility. Radical responsibility. Y'all remember that word, radical responsibility? When shit happened to you, when you blame everybody else, guess what you're not aware of? You're compounding. See, compounding is not linear, right? So you can't say, well, when I pour water on this table, it hit the table, which caused the wood to warp, which also caused my computer to go damaged, right? Compounding is how many different ways that I create moistness on this table that I'm not aware of. And it might be something really innocent over here, but it caused portion of this moistness that caused the damage, right? You have to kind of look at how things that seem disconnected is part of the connection of what's happening, right? This is the ultimate random engagement form of thinking, where you have to understand that you compounded different experiences that create this situation. Like, let's say you say, my car got hit, and I'm fucking mad, and I just gets on my nerves. Huh, okay. So did you cause the accident? No, you didn't cause the accident. Okay, that's fair. Were you driving crazy? No. Were you late? No. Are you mad? Yes. Would you be mad if you can afford 100 of those cars? No, I wouldn't be. Oh. Why can't you afford 100 of those cars? Oh. Maybe I created a lifestyle where this is overvalued because of where I'm at. You get where I'm going with this? Like sometimes our anger may even come down to us analyzing, well, will this bother everybody or is it just bothering me? Does it bother me more because of where I'm at? Then what have I done in my past to make this more serious or less serious? You guys going with this? This is a way deeper way of thinking. This is no more that superficial causation of, well, this got wet because you dropped it. That tit for tat blaming shit will have you fucked in this space here. So you can't see compounding if you always think of radical responsibility is absolutely required to understand compounding. It's you won't understand when you get to 1,000,000 grains. You're not even close to the quintillion, but you at 1,000,000 grains. You won't even understand even the possible causations, and now you're out there as a false prophet because you think because this one thing is why you're here. I'm successful because somebody said, "Oh, Court, why are you successful?" And Court goes, "I said in court today. If somebody asks you why you're successful, you could even say, I had a good dentist. PG&E worked really, really well. I had a good contractor. I caught the best bus I've ever seen." Because all those had impact. It's your brain, it's called recency bias. Well, think about the things that are the highlights in your life and just credit that. So then when you go out to people and you got a room full of people with bad teeth or can't afford the bus, you won't see that's one of the reasons they can't see or achieve the plan you set for them, because in the end, you don't see how the whole ecosystem that impacts a person's life. You guys going with this? So when you're running your business and you decide to make a decision, you make a decision based upon a good idea, not an ecosystem now. You see where I'm going with this? And where does that start? You and how you see yourself. This happened to me because you, them, they, him, I did this one bad thing wrong. You're missing the compound, you're missing the randomness. You're missing the whole fucking problem. That means that when your brain comes time to create a solution, you're kind of stupid. Your solutions are stupid because they're just removing so many variables that are impactful out of the equation. This is a deeper form of thinking, and when you mature in this space, you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest. Fuck, this is crazy how much you start to see the matrix now. That's why I say we're in the matrix now. I'm teaching you how to see the matrix. Keep going, next one.
Preferential attachment is a type of compounding that
Ooh,
occurs.
I love this part. I love this part. I love this part. My nephew's this way. He ain't shit in no other areas, but he's financially well off just because it's one fucking form of compounding. Go ahead. Preferential. I'm sorry.
Preferential.
This is one of the ones. This is one of the ones that this is how we used to hustle our way out the hood when I was younger. This is our generational technique that kind of disappeared. I don't know where the fuck it went, but my nephew picked this one up, and he's loved by everybody. Ain't got no skills. Ain't got no boy. That boy, I don't think he can put a bolt on a screw. But that motherfucker somehow stays paid on this alone. Right here. Go ahead. Go start again.
Preferential attachment is a type of compounding that occurs when a certain thing, such as money or friends, is more likely to accrue to individuals or entities that already have more of it.
So what that means is that, okay, friendships are compounded. You get good friends, they add up. But through good friends, you meet more friends. But through more friends, it also provides you more opportunities, right? Once again, like money and like knowledge, friendships, and remember I always say in this class, relationships is a way, in the success game, is all about these relationships, right? So if you struggle with relationships, you broke. Your relationships is just like your money in your bank. If you can go home and go, how many good friends do I have? 1.6, 2.4.
He said 1.6 though.
Okay, out of my 5 friends, 2.3. And so guess what you're going to, so question is also too, are your friends, do you want to meet their friends? Right? Relationships are critical in compounding. But I'm going to give you a recipe for this because we only got one more slide of this. A recipe for this friendship thing that's cold. Go to the next one. For instance, people.
For instance, people who have many friends tend to keep making more and more. They have more opportunities to meet new people through the ones they already know.
So the beautiful thing about that is like, you could be born at this economic status. So let's say you're born in 6'9" like I was. If I just work really, really hard, I might move to 61st and Bancroft. I might even own my own house in the hood. But if I have friends, I can own Wall Street. But I have to master art of how to show to all my friends to maximize that relationship to get what I need to get. Keep going. Next one. Last slide. Then I'm going to explain. I'm going to give you the game.
Conclusion, compounding is an incredibly useful...
Okay, wait, stop. We're coming. Let me give you the solution because this is going to kind of summarize it all up. You know how you compound relationships to go from 6'9" to Wall Street? Or 6'9" to your own corporation? Or 6'9" to the first black billionaire from Oakland? You know how the technique is? I'll make it really simple, but this is simple, but this is a seed to a complex-ass forest. Not a tree, a fucking forest. So if you try to make this just a branch or just a twig or a flower, you fucking miss this whole message. Give more than you need. That's it. Give more than you need. Give and be slow to ask. I'm going to say this again, because some of y'all are too broke to hear me. GIVE, give. More than you ask. I don't think y'all understand what the fuck I just said. When you come up in poverty, you play that fairness game, so you're trying to do equal transactions. This is why your friendships are draining. They're dying. You engage people, you go on a date, what does this mean for me? This is why you're lonely as fuck right now by yourself. If you learn to give more than you receive, give and ask rarely, meaning that you position yourself where you don't need to ask a lot. Like if anybody around me, they realize, like Court, how many times have I asked you for something? I focus on giving and let the universe bring it back to me. Y'all Y'all won't let it compound and produce a result that's unpredictable. You guys make giving transactional.
Amen, brother.
Stay with me for a second. Just real quick. Just stay with me for a second. Me and Court battle to take each other out to dinner. We come up with tricks. We got so many tricks on how to pay first. It is comedy. It's got to the point that we call in before we get to the restaurant. Hey, when I get there, don't you take that goddamn credit card. I'll leave you a nice tip, but don't you take that goddamn credit card. I can't wait. If I even sense Court needs something, how can I help you? If you too self-centered, too self-damaged, narcissist, grandiosity, ego big, you fuck this all up. You'll give waiting for the return. Hey, I gave you some water. Just know I gave it to you, right? Remember, I looked out for you. Matter of fact, you know what? If you watch this class and you watch the last episode, season of Succession, it had a lot of these lessons in it, but it did it in a comedy way. Because in one scene, the daughter did something for the father, and she kept saying, "Where's my credit? I did this for you." And he looked at her like, "I'm not fucking with you." And he went on to the next child. Because you don't understand compounding. This game is not about that. When you walk through this universe and you're just giving and you're giving and you're giving, you walk through the same universe and you're receiving. The universe is pouring shit on you. You don't know what's coming, but it's going to land so cold because it's the rule of compounding. Remember, you can't see the end of compounding when you first start. When you give, it doesn't feel like it's going to ever come back. But if you develop a giving spirit and you show up and you giving, this shit is so cold. I don't want y'all to get caught up in this old. Because to me, I see people talking about giving. Sometimes y'all even giving to receive a feel-good point. No, you got to be a giver, not giving. You got to be a giver. How can I show up for more people? Don't get me wrong. You got to stay balanced. You don't give to the point that you drain yourself or your family or your kids. I don't come to your house, your kid ain't got no coat, but all the kids in the neighborhood got coats. You fucking up. What I'm saying is when you have the opportunity to give, if you got a full plate, you realize I don't need a full plate. I only need this much, and I see you hungry. Here, you take the other half. I'm good with that. If you have opportunity, you see a friend trying to do some stuff, and like, for example, Lena X, I talk about him all the time. So he said, "Oh, I sell these products." I'm like, "Damn, your products are high, but fuck that. I owe you, bro. Here you go. Let me buy some of your products." Right? Because I'm giving it. This class is a giving experience for me. I don't come to this motherfucker because I'm getting rich. I don't even see when I talk to Court or Mashama. We understand we're compounding because I can't paint a perfect picture of what the next 10 years look like. We're saying, hey, let's compound, continue to invest, and in the end, we're looking for this ultimate return, which is entrepreneurs who are having impact on the community. But what that's going to look like and who or when or what or why, we don't fucking absolutely know that because we're compounding. But we have to believe in the system and stick with it, and it's going to be a period when it's going to be like, man, we only have 4 pieces of grain of rice. This shit almost don't make no sense. And then when we get to quintillion, we'll be like, did this shit work? Because we can't imagine it. Giving is a must. If you have friends and you always asking, you fucking up. If you're always saying, well, I gave this, so what do I get back? Are you doing this measurement system? You fucking up. If you can't freely give to your friends blindly, you look. Someone let go. My wife, before we did this marriage thing, when she first met me, even when we were friends, she just blindly gives. Like no, if she wants to give it, it's gone. It ain't even a question. Now, don't mind, she's smart enough to handle her finances. Her credit's amazing. Her bank account's full. But when she gives because she wants to give. So she made me a better giver with her. So when, hey, babe, what fuck, shit, yeah, whatever, here. With her. Because at first, with women, I used to be, I was playing that safety role. Like, yo, I'm going to get this, but, I don't want you getting out of control. I think that's a joke, but it's real. once I learned to freely give, the money disappeared because now it was almost a wash, right? It's like sometimes I'm at the top and sometimes at the bottom, but guess what? In the overall experience, it's amazing. Then I have other people in my life where it's transactional and it's sticky. It's a loss. It doesn't go far. Nobody really benefits from it. And it's entrapment. I can't begin to tell you. Pastor Chris, man, he kicked me up one day. Okay, 2 birthdays passed. One birthday comes up, go to the front door, FedEx, gift from Pastor Chris. I think $200, $300 tennis shoes. Out the blue. I asked for them? No. Next thing I turn around. One day he came by my house. This is when he got his Lexus. By the way, Pastor Chris got this Audi. I shouldn't be telling his business. He has this beautiful Audi. Oh my God, that motherfucker. Hey, he had me sitting the other day. He's like, "You want to take it for a drive?" Give an ass. "You want to take it for a drive?" And I was like, "Nah, man, it feels too sexy and too expensive for me to drive it." He had an Audi A8, beautiful car. Oh my God, beautiful car. But when he got his Lexus, and mind you, this man is not blessed because he's hustling something. No. Pastor Chris is a crazy giver. One day he's like, "No, come with me real quick. I want to talk to you about some stuff." We go to the supermarket. This is expensive at the supermarket. Syrup is $15.
Shit.
Syrup. And it ain't even it ain't an Aunt Your Mama size. It's like a half an Aunt Your Mama. It's like a fifth of Hennessy type size, right? I'm not saying that's a ghetto ass comparison.
From the hood, they speaking fifth of Hennessy
What
size.
size of it? About a fifth of Hennessy, you know what I'm saying? About the size of Swisher. But anyway, what is this? So he in there, he like, "Yo, man, you gotta try this." He must have brought me like $80 worth of groceries. Like, "You gotta try this." I didn't ask for shit. "You gotta try this. You gotta try this. You gotta try this." Man, look, no, I'm saying, try this. Bring the shit. It's like $80 worth of groceries. He didn't give to me like, "Yo, so last week I gave you groceries. Can you get me, what's up with that?" But Pastor Chris, every time I turn around, this man's being blessed in ways you can't imagine because
Yes.
he's a natural giver, and the universe is pouring on him gifts that he can't pre. So he called me. I ain't gonna tell you what his blessings were, but for a young minister, he's received blessings that ministers who've been engaged for 20, 30 years haven't received.
Yep. Real quick, Pastor Chris called me like, "Hey, this is school in my city that their uniforms ain't cool. So I'm gonna put you on 3-way because we gonna buy them for him."
That's who that dude is. And he don't do, I promise you when I say he doesn't do, there's no intent. He didn't give and come back next week like, "Yo, so, last week, what's up? What's up with you? Where you at?" Right? Or one day we hanging out, he's like, "Yo, well, last time I gave you, what's up with you giving this?" And so guess what happens with me when he's around? My heart completely, "Man, what you need, Pastor? What you need?" If something happened in his life that was crazy and he's like, "No, I can't pay my mortgage this month." Bro, you don't ask me. You don't have to ask me. He probably wouldn't tell me, but if I find out, I send my FedEx guy to drop off my money.
Hey, I just want to reiterate though that this is one of the secrets to being wealthy.
Black Wall Street.
This giving shit is one of the secrets. If there was any secrets, like Illuminati secrets, this is one of them. And not many people even understand how it works because there's an invisible energy that happens when you become an advancing person. Because the universe is always growing and expanding. It's always. New planets is always being formed. Everything's moving. The planet that we're on is moving. Everything is growing and expanding. So when you position yourself as a giver, a compounding one, that's just your rhythm, you're an advancing human, it's hard to, nobody knows what happens, but it's almost like you become in relationship with the universe that we need you around. We need you around. I need you here because you're here for the good of this place. And you get it back. So I heard one of the in the back when we were talking about it. If we can't keep account of what we're getting, and you can't worry about getting back from the person we gave to. You're planting continuous seeds in this world, and it's gonna come back. It is
In crazy ways.
in crazy ways, and it more than likely it's not gonna come back from the person that you gave to. It's just the way universal law is. This is spiritual law, success, giving and it's in every avenue of the world, from business to theologian to spiritual to all the areas, because nobody can really explain it. It's so fucking powerful. So if you move as a giver, not that like, oh shit, I'm gonna give, like motherfuckers taking advantage of me. Don't give out of your needs, out of your necessity. You give from your surplus, but you're a constant giver.
Amen.
Don't keep account. Don't keep account.
Yeah, that's why fairness is the unconscious way of keeping an account. So you'd be like, well, I gave you 3 times. How come you don't give me sometimes? When you show up just in a giving spirit, you have no ideas what the potentials are, and you have no ideas of what challenges lie in front of you. Like, you may lose everything tomorrow, but if you're a giver, you'll never sleep on the ground. But if you're not a giver, oh, you may sleep on some cement.
Yeah. And sorry, if you get taken advantage of, so the fuck what? So the fuck what? Because guess what? That's my rhythm. It don't matter.
You don't make
so
this person.
So if you look at yourself like the sun shines on everybody's ass. The good, the bad, the scandalous, the murderers, the killers, the scammers. It shines on everybody's ass. So if you got sun today, the sun don't be like, oh, I'm going to make it dark for you because you're a stupid ass. No, everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. So if you position yourself in that space from a giving perspective, say, oh, man, I got over on that person. You didn't get over on me. That's my rhythm. That's who I am. I'm a giving person. So I learned my lesson from you. Good luck. Bye. Have a good day. I hope you enjoy the shit that you got, and I'm going to keep it pushing.
Matter of fact, I would even say, okay, and we're going to go into this, like, love is compounding. So I practice the art of I love to love. I'm loving people. I love giving out love. Oh my God, this love thing is great, right? All people are good. Do you realize I'm compounding an energy that makes my life great? I compounded being mad at white people when I was younger, and you know what that made my life feel like? I compounded being mad before. You know what my life felt like? I compounded being frustrated with people. You know what my life felt like? I felt like shit. I really had a fucked up ass life. But when I started compounding love, giving, caring, all people are good. Some people have mental health problems, but just how can I show up in that space? Things irritate me, but because I walk in love, I have more good days. My bad days can be counted on one hand. My good days are beyond my man. I can't remember them no more. They just back to back to back to back. They come so fast, it's ridiculous. But all my life is a result of compounded investments in many different values, beliefs, and actions that has yielded me a lifestyle, a rhythm, a happiness, great people in my life. Everything I'm getting is from this compounding. And it's not, and it doesn't work out if you just try to go get something, or you try to fix something, or you try to treat life as a transaction, or you try to control the outcomes, or you tell life it owes you something, or you play the fairness game. All that shit cheats you of the value of life itself. You got to learn to love people without looking for love back. You got to learn to give without asking to be given back. You got to learn to walk this earth on a whole different scale, because when you walk in that way, you're receiving, not only are you receiving compounded rewards, you're receiving daily rewards. Daily rewards. Your system is designed, I don't think you understand when you can walk through a world and you're in a space of love. Like, when I'm in a space of love, I can be in a space and hold the door before a white male. And he goes, oh, thank you. Hey, no, thank you. I'm not thinking, oh, he could be racist. He could this. He should have. No, I'm in love space. A mean-ass black woman could come down and hey, sis, how you doing? Hey, sis, no problem. Because in the end, I'm going to feel good when I go to sleep that night. But what I'm not going to do is be like, oh, that bitch, what the fuck? And she's... Now, mind you, I just got this space of love, compounding love, in the last 3 years. Because I remember 16, 17 years ago, this lady bumped me and I pushed her down. I ain't been here. Don't get me. I ain't gonna get to tell you like, oh, I've been a loving. No, I was in San Francisco. And she knocked my shoulder this way, and I turned around, pushed her like this. She fell, and I said, "What? What the fuck you gonna get mad for?" Next time you think about who you bumped, like, okay, I was wrong. I was wrong as a motherfucker, right? And it's like, like if I ever seen her today, I would feel like shit if I saw her. Like, oh fuck, right? So in the end, that part of me had to change because in the end, it was eating me alive and it was making my world, it was coloring my world gray. And all I saw was the ugliness in life. I didn't see no more beauty in life. And it gets to a point where death and suicide don't feel so bad anymore because you made the life ugly because of the way you show up to life itself. When you love and you give, it colors the life totally different. When you're willing to share and touch other people's lives and take some time, sometimes miss a meal for somebody else. This self-centered shit got you. This is why many of you guys are lonely and nobody ever helps you out, because you don't help nobody out. When the last time you, you have your friend house and the fucking living room is messy, you're like, girl, let me help you out. Matter of fact, true fact, observation. My most powerful friends are hella guilty. My weakest friends are not. My weakest friends will walk in the house and sit down and be like, man, you gonna clean this motherfucker up? My strong friends like, yo, you need some help? I promise you. Watch rhythm of people. My mentor, who's a crazy, he's crazy successful. Crazy successful. This cat killing me. But anyway, if you get in my house, someone's working, you're like, yo, let me help you out with that. This man shouldn't be touching shit. He's a giver. A giver. I got hella nieces and nephews. I don't even have hella nieces and nephews. They just be kids of my friends. But when his daughter graduates from school, if he happens to be out of town and she needs a computer, guess who's going to be there with a computer? If Pastor Chris said, hey, my kid's about to go to this college, man, I need another $3,000 to get them into school, guess who's going to be there? And guess what? Guess who would never tell y'all? Guess who would never brag about it? The people who I helped, I would never mention their names. But I love those people, and I gave, and it was the greatest feeling, and it's just to see them grow. I've given to people who've never even said thank you. I don't give a shit. Me being a giver makes my life, I just can't, I think church doesn't give you the basis of it because I don't think they've had experience a lot of times to teach you correctly. But if you understand compounding, you'll realize by compounding your actions, you get those things back.
Man. Hey, it just reminded me of something that I got to get back into. But when I was going through rough times and I got calm and I started initiating being a giver, when I was broke, I had $0. I was broke as fuck. But I started making that part of my rhythm, giving of my time, energy, money, little money I had. It started becoming so fun. And it was when I had nothing. And so I got this idea from a blog I read, and it was 38 random acts of giving. And I was turning 38 at the time. So I was like, ooh, this would be dope. I'm turning 38. So I made a list of 38 things based on how old I was that I would do randomly. And you ain't got to be rich, just with the money I had. And so some of it was like, I walked into a laundry room and I put quarters in all the dryers so that people walk in and they're like, oh shit, it's my lucky day. And I had hella quarters left over, so I hid them in a park, in a kids park. So then I just sat in the car and watched like one kid find one and another kid find one. They all just start rummaging through, and it was maybe like $10 worth of quarters. And seeing the joy on their face and then skirting off, and I just did that 38 times. And the amount of love you feel in your heart, it creates a whole different rhythm in who you are. I would Barnes and Nobles, I would buy these, I didn't have money to buy books back then, so I would just read the fucking books at the store. And so I went back and bought gift certificates and slid them in the book of the exact amount of the store. So, and I say, hey, this is a great book. This helped me. Go ahead. It's already paid for. Go to the front and buy it. And so I would just do shit like that to where it got me into a rhythm of just being a given person, period. So then after the 38, you so juiced that, and you get so much joy from it that it just becomes a part of who you are. Now, I went overboard. I gave away my fucking car one time, and that didn't work out. But once you implement that into who you are, then the money, the receiving part comes. It just comes.
Amen, brother.
So last slide. Read it. Conclusion.
Compounding is an incredibly useful mental model because it requires us to think long term about our knowledge, experiences, and
So
relationships.
real quick, stop thinking short term about your knowledge, experience, and relationships. It's part of a long-term compounded investment in your life. Stop looking at just the moment, just being the moment. How is this a compound? Don't get me wrong. You need to be in some experience. Doesn't mean you need to be in a control moment. It means you need to be in that experience. Sometimes you guys are on your phone the whole time, and you're just losing all these amazing experiences because you're not compounding them. Just be present, be there, be in the experience, allows you to compound these experiences to have a different life. Be in the relationships, give more than you ask. It changes the whole, that's our whole trip. Remember we go to Seattle, it's hella live because all of us are giving. We got 5 or 6 men hanging out in Seattle for 4 days just giving. You know how crazy, how good that feels? Nobody goes into a restaurant, everybody goes to a restaurant like, okay, I got this one, right? But in the end, we all walk away with this spirited energy that says, man, when I called a couple of people who went last year, they was like, oh yeah, I'll be there. Don't worry about it, I'll be there. Knowledge. At the end of the day, it's like, when you're gaining knowledge, you're not getting it to get something or to get to a level. You're constantly investing in knowledge for long-term benefit that you can't feel when you finish reading a book. So when you leave Hope this year, get ready for next year, or if you don't come back, just know that you continue to do this, which is learn, grow, engage, teach, dialogue, all these things for a blessing you can't see. Go ahead.
It suggests to us that continual reinvestment of what we learn and in the people around us is the best way to set ourselves up for reliable, steady gains. The majority of success doesn't happen by accident, and the lens of compounding illuminates the investments we need to make to get there.
So you know how people say, success is, a lot of it's just luck. Success of a business is luck. That's true. The success of your life is an equation. And if you're not making these constant investments in yourself, in others around you, in your experiences, then, remember I said a long time ago, I can't give you value. Value is something you earn. This is what I was telling you. You create your own value. You create your own life experiences. If your life sucks, you compounded that investment. If your life is cool, that reflects your investment. If your life is great, trust me, that's an investment. Your life is your investment. Stop focusing on all the people around you who you want to blame for your fucked up ass life or the life you don't like. If you take radical responsibility for your own life, I promise you, you don't need to see the path, but you will get there. You will get there. And if you don't get there, you wasn't in control. The thought was. Any questions for our last class? That being said, hey man, this has been a dope ass journey. Hopefully you guys are more inspired to learn more, do more, experience more. Hopefully you love yourself more, you love others around you more. If you haven't, let's do it again. Everybody don't need to move at the same pace. But I honestly have to tell you, life doesn't hate you. Life ain't fucked up. It's your perception of it is fucked up. Life ain't rough. It's your engagement is wrong. Life has natural friction. Like when you experience friction, friction ain't bad. Friction is good for you. But if you call it rough, it's because your perception of it is rough. And so hopefully, you guys spend these next 2 weeks reflecting on how you showed up to yourself, how you compounded through the year. Did you invest in yourself? Did you just sit in class and treat it like a church? Or did you actually spend time learning on your own in addition to learning with the class? Did you wait for somebody to tell you to be somebody? Or did you inspire yourself to be somebody? Did you go out and try some of this shit? Or did you go home and become self-righteous and use your status to say I'm smarter than the next person around you? So it's something to think about during the holidays. But with that being said, have a good holiday. Hug your loved ones. Practice love. Not because it's a holiday. Just practice fucking love. Learn to love your adversaries. You're a cold motherfucker when you can take care of your enemy. Like, learn to love the people. Learn to love everybody. I know this sounds, I'm not a multicultural dude. I'm not that dude. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Some shit be like, fuck what you heard. But I love all people. Don't mean I embrace everybody. Don't get it wrong. I got uncle's a crackhead. He can't come over. I don't give a fuck what he say. He ain't coming over. Because if he come over, something got to go with him. Might be my camera, might be my money. But something got to go. But I love him over there. Regardless. And if I see he's hungry, I'm going to bring him some food over there. And if I have to put him in a hotel because he's cold, he's wet, he's going over there. I do believe in balance and protecting myself, but I just walk in a space of love, and I can't begin to tell you, don't wait for Christmas to figure out what love is. That's just so sad. You want to give because it's Christmas. You want to give because you want to love somebody because it's Christmas. My God, has white people got that deep in your head that you don't know how to love and give on your own anymore? So with that being said, I love you guys. And as they say,
In Lithuania.
in deep Australia, y'all have a good motherfucking year. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Peace. We out this thing. You dig?